Welcome in to Check the Mic, presented by FanDuel. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson. We are live from the Antonio Cromartie studio, in part with Huggies. Yep. It's time, Sam. Shout out to Howard Hughes billionaire Drew Collins for the naming rights. That gets added to the naming rights. It's time for our Week 4 NFL review, and we were already rattling off the takes to each other early on. So hopefully we bring them. Hopefully we bring them today for another 3 to 4 hours of NFL review.
The real sadness of the 17-game schedule is we can no longer neatly divide up the season into, first quarter would be done now.
Oh, no. We are
tonight.
29.5% of the way through the season at the end of this week.
Can't believe you do that in your head.
Yeah. 294?
Crazy. Yeah.
294 batting average, I think.
Meanwhile, I'm trying to convince my child to stop using Siri to, work out math and stuff.
No, sorry. It's 231, I think it is.
Oh, you can't even get it right.
Ah, shoot. Now I'm having doubts.
Second-guessing yourself, yeah.
I am having doubts in my head. Anyway, we can't. No clean quadrants
here. It's a bummer
to the season. Hate that. But Week 4,
almost in the books.
2 games tonight and plenty to get through. You ready to go?
Yep.
We'll get right into it. It all started Thursday night. Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals. This was our special Check the Mic watch along for all of our members. We had a lot of fun with the watch along. Seahawks get the win to move to 3-1. Also at the point of the season where I don't have every record memorized off the top of my head. I got to double check. And now those idiots in Green Bay and Dallas had to add a whole tie to the mix to really mess with me. Hate that. I got to say a 1 for those teams. Anyway, Seattle moves to 3-1. Arizona 2-2. Turned out to be a pretty fun end of game scenario here. Seattle was up a couple scores. Arizona got it back to 20-20. Seattle kicks the game-winning field goal, though, to take control-ish of the NFC West, sitting there tied for first with the Rams.
Yeah, strange game. We did the watch-along over here in our couch set over on the other side of the studio, so that was fun for all members. It was one of those games where we were focusing so much on Marvin Harrison Jr., who had another sort of nightmare to begin with, he was becoming one of these receivers where it's like, it's starting to get uncomfortable watching him. Whatever about where his ceiling lies, how good he's going to be or not in the NFL, he's clearly a receiver who's lost all confidence whatsoever in his own ability, and he's making plays that no high-end receiver should be making. And then, they kind of rediscovered his touch. He made a great classic college Marvin Harrison Jr. play in the end zone, going up and mossing a guy and actually making a play. Him and Kyler connected in the second half. They almost came all the way back. And then ultimately, Seattle ended up finding a way of making it happen. You're like, well, that was the right result. I mean, the Seahawks were the better team for the majority of this game, let Arizona back into it, and it became a close game again. But for the majority of the game, we were like, well, one team is better than the other. The other team has got this drama dynamic of receiver and quarterback still not able to connect, and then all that went away for a few minutes and almost changed the whole thing.
If you didn't catch it, I mean, everybody caught Marvin Harrison Jr. when he caught his touchdown over Devin Witherspoon, a great play.
Yep.
Almost relieved to make that catch. I mean, it was
almost. I mean, very relieved.
Very relieved. I mean, it was an emotional moment, right? We talk a lot about these receivers through the years who it feels like everything that they're near is, bad stuff happens, or they're always close to interceptions or whatever it may be. Earlier in the game, Marvin Harrison Jr., was it a drop?
Definitely had a drop.
Well, there was a drop that led to an interception.
Yep.
The first interception, he quit on the route.
Yep. Weirdly.
I thought it was strange. Again, I saw some people trying to say, well, Kyler was he looked like he was about to start the scramble drill, and maybe that.
That was what I was saying. It looked like for a split second, it looked like he thought about flipping right the way back outside, the sort of almost the blaze out type of route where you fake in, then go all the way back. And if that could have been the same thing. He was reading, is the quarterback about to bail? If he is, I got to go back out, and then no, continue. And by the time he'd done that, he'd basically stopped to the route. These are the things that only happen to receivers whose confidence is sort of shot at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So there was 2 interceptions, and then after the drop and the route. No, sorry. There was he stopped on the route for an interception. There was a miscommunication where Kyler threw a quick out and Marvin ran the go ball, and then they finally are on the same page on a slant, and Marvin drops it and just comically tips it up and it gets intercepted. So everything was bad for a while, but he did a good job redeeming himself with a couple big plays, including the touchdown. So that was a big part of the story. And then Seattle generally, another very clean, efficient game from Sam Darnold. I mean, I said on our post game was this is the Shanahan-Kubiak style working extremely well, where you don't have a high volume passing attack from Sam Darnold. They're running the ball a lot, and they were pretty good running the ball the other night. But you're running the ball at a high volume, and Darnold's just working a ton of play action, taking shots down the field. 18 of 26 for 242 and a touchdown in another game where he just looked really comfortable. And then when the game was on the line, they got one-on-one on the outside. They're trying to get in position for a game-winning field goal, and it's Darnold to Jackson Smith and Jigba for a big gain to set that up. So, it was a good game, and I thought Seattle was the better team. Almost, lost it at the end there.
Yeah,
but they did a good job to pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
Impressed with Seattle's defense and the way they're playing on that side of the ball overall as well.
Yeah, and that division I think is going to be a fun one throughout the season. Like all four teams pretty competitive right now. During the week I was on a couple of radio shows and who are the contenders in the NFL? You're like, the main ones I think are fairly obvious, but it feels like there's a contender to come from that division. I just don't know who it is yet. Could be Seattle, could be the Rams. I think there's one more legit Super Bowl contender from that division, but we need to wait and watch it shake out to figure out which one.
We'll see Rams-Niners this Thursday night. So the other two teams playing Thursday Night Football in the NFC West. So the Seahawks, they moved to 3-1. Cardinals 2-2. Losses the last 2 weeks after beating the Saints and Panthers the first 2 weeks. So I think there's still some questions about Arizona. Their offense just very inconsistent, right? Credit to the Seattle defense, but Arizona's offense, very inconsistent. I love the way they play defensively. I think we expected them to be much more competitive on the defensive side of the ball week in, week out. I think we're seeing that from the Cardinals. Still have questions about the offense, especially without James Conner.
Yeah.
And trying to get that balance going with the run game and the pass game.
You see there are now trade rumors swirling around Reek Woolen. Witherspoon back in the lineup, so teams apparently are calling about Woolen.
He has not been a favorite of Mike McDonald and company. I do wonder if Pete Carroll and the Raiders.
That's the obvious connection.
I don't know if it's this week or next week at some point. I mean, the trade deadline's been pushed back. It used to be, week 6? It used to be time. But we're getting to the point where you have some 1-3, 0-4 teams, and there might be some trade candidates. I don't know if Wednesday is a good time, but maybe next week start getting into some of those trade rumors.
But that's the interesting one where, Seattle are not going to be bad. Normally it's the teams that are losing that are fire sailing team or players and getting rid of them. This would be a weird one where the Seahawks are actually looking very good and potentially not interested in keeping around one of their players.
He's in the last year of his contract, so clearly they're not looking to lock him up long term. And again, it's a strange career for Woolen, who as a athletic freak hit the ground running immediately and then didn't necessarily get better. It wasn't like the year 3 or 4 breakout as we had maybe anticipated. Mm-hmm. Anything else on Thursday Night Football?
Nope.
We're setting a pace for an hour here.
Well, this one happened, weeks ago.
It was weeks ago.
And we were live at the time. So.
Let's get all the stuff from yesterday. Where are we right now?
All the stuff from tomorrow.
The game in Dublin.
Yeah.
The Dublin game.
The FOMO game.
Were you so sad?
I really was.
Sorry, man.
Spent most of Sunday morning just thinking, what am I doing here? What am I sitting on my couch in a basement in Cincinnati for while this game's happening down the road from home? It's like Cheers music playing in the background. It's like I should have been there. Should have been there.
Texting friends back in the motherland. What's it like over there? There was even sun at the game. It was amazing. It was a special game. Uh-huh. Pittsburgh Steelers 24, Minnesota Vikings 21. Steelers move to 3-1. Vikings fall to 2-2. Steelers had this in hand for much of the game. There were some questionable late game decisions, maybe, that let the Vikings back into it. Carson Wentz sacked 6 times, so the Steelers
6 or 7.
Officially 6 in the box score, but he may have been tackled a few more times than that.
Okay.
With negated plays and such. And Steelers defense creating some turnovers, creating havoc as we may have expected them a few weeks ago heading into the season.
Yeah, it did. It looked a lot more like the Steelers defense that we expected to see heading into the year that hadn't been there for the first couple of games. I mean, a big thing of it is, again, Minnesota's offensive line just can't stay healthy. They were down their left guard, Donovan Jackson, the rookie. He's had wrist surgery, I think, is going to miss a few weeks. So he was out heading into the game. At some point, relatively early, 11 snaps or something, Brian O'Neill goes down on a kick, like a field goal attempt, goes down, doesn't come back. So that's your right tackle gone, your left guard gone. Ryan Kelly, the center, came into the game coming off a concussion, leaves again with a concussion. This is the second time in a few years the Vikings have done this. It wasn't quite the same as previously, but that rang a bell when it happened. It's like, hasn't... A couple of years ago, they did this with Christian Darrisaw, but it was back-to-back games. So Darrisaw got concussed in one game, and then the following game played again and left the game with a concussion. So this time Kelly had actually sat out a game. He missed last week. But it's the second time in a few years where the Vikings have had an offensive lineman get concussed and then get concussed immediately upon coming back. And for Ryan Kelly in particular, this is a guy who's had a track record of some concussions. Like that was part of his kind of red flag, if you like, as a concern, being signed in the first place. That's got to be pretty scary. Offensive linemen, you hear them talk about this as a position where you still basically lead with your head almost every single play, and it's the subconcussive blows and blah, blah, blah. That's got to be pretty scary for both Ryan Kelly and the Vikings. But that's, their entire offseason was about rebuilding, overhauling an offensive line. And they haven't come close to having the starting five that they expected to have this season for any game so far this season.
And the Steelers took advantage on the other side.
Yeah, if you're going to be losing offensive linemen, that's a bad defense to be playing.
Nick Herbig, Keanu Benton both had multiple sacks, depending on how you want to count them. T.J. Watt had one. Derek Harmon creating pressure. I mean, they were Cam Hayward up front. I mean, it was what we were in all of our preview shows reciting, hey, this Steelers defense has a chance to be really good. It was because of some of the additions in the secondary, like Jalen Ramsey in the hamstring saga, and then the ability to just bring pressure from not just different angles, but with incredible depth on that defensive front. I feel like the last couple of weeks we've seen the havoc that Pittsburgh can create. This was one of those games too where it felt like the Steelers really dominated the game. The Vikings got lucky early. There was a Jordan Mason fumble that was returned for a touchdown. Jalen Ramsey returns it. And then upon replay, Mason was touching the ball out of bounds.
Was that deliberate or not, do you think?
I don't think it was deliberate.
I don't either. I think it was deliberate, and he was trying to get hold of the ball again. I don't think it was, I know I'm out of bounds. If I touch this, the game's dead.
I wasn't.
Play's dead.
It would be. I mean, if there is a fumble,
if that was all conscious, that was like 1,000 IQ play from Jordan Mason. As it was, I think it's just, oh no, I fumbled the ball. I'm trying to get hold of it again. And
I think
he happened to get lucky
over,
that he was out of bounds at the time, killing the play.
So that saved robbed the Steelers of a touchdown. It looked like they were going to be up 7-0 early.
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey faked a hamstring injury. So we were all, I put a very funny dad joke out there like, oh, now, tough break for the Steelers. Now all eyes on Jalen Ramsey's hamstring. Everybody's like, come on, man, he didn't. I think he was joking because he did the gritty right after, and then came up lame with a hamstring later.
Well,
you can't. There should be a rule. You cannot fake hamstring injuries once you're in your 30s.
That was the thing. You sent me that text. You shouldn't be allowed to fake a hamstring injury when you're in your 30s, and it was like, Ramsey tempted fate, and then fate took the bait later on. And he's like, you know what? If you're going to screw around and pretend you got a hammy, we're going to give you a hammy.
Can't do that. Like
Jordan Addison, who, by the way, his return made a big impact for Minnesota's offense. Like Jordan Addison being back in this lineup makes a big difference to this team. Addison ends up basically smoking Jalen Ramsey down the sideline. Ramsey trying to run and get back in phase with him. Pop, hamstring gone.
So a lot more to unpack on this one too. I thought that the Steelers might struggle with Minnesota's pressure, and immediately, first play, unblocked sack. It's like, all right, this felt like a game where maybe Rodgers gets sacked 5 or 6 times and can't avoid it. But instead, I thought Rodgers full control. This was the best running game that they've had as well. With Jaylen Warren hurt, it was Kenneth Gainwell coming in, who I've always really liked. 19 carries for 99 yards and 2 touchdowns for Gainwell. It was the best run game the the Steelers have had all year, and then Rodgers in control at the line of scrimmage. You mentioned last night throwing those little smoke screens and backside slants on run plays, and then the big one, the DK Metcalf 80-yard touchdown, wide open over the middle of the field. So I thought Rodgers, really good, effective game. He only threw the ball 22 times, 18 of 22.
Yeah.
For 200 yards. He did have a fumble that bounced perfectly to Broderick Jones.
Yeah.
In stride. What a bounce that was off the Dublin turf there, Sam.
And Rodgers gets up and it's like, thank you. Was that a big third down as well? He took off scrambling.
It was a 10-yard scramble.
Yeah.
And Rodgers, this is the slowest he's ever looked. Clearly. He's struggling to move around.
Yeah.
After being one of the more athletic quarterbacks in the league for years. Picks his spot to scramble, and it's like, all right, it worked. He had wide open green grass, 10-yard gain. I think it was Jonathan Grenard comes in from behind and knocks the ball away, and it just bounces right up to Broderick Jones.
Big break for them, yeah.
But again, the Steelers' offense, I thought, looked just pretty efficient in this game. And then the Vikings, you could tell they were trying to feed Justin Jefferson early, get Carson Wentz and him on the same page, and they did. They did a nice job with that. But it was every third down, Carson Wentz felt like it was either him getting sacked or, throwing the ball to a safety. He had 2 interceptions. And the other place where they got lucky, it looked like James Pierre had a game-ending interception and just bobbled it on the out of bounds. The Vikings ended up with a ton of late-game opportunities, and the Steelers kind of let them back into it, but Steelers ended up holding on 24-21.
Yeah, it was really interesting the way that this Rodgers offense and the Steelers combated Flores and the Vikings defense, because they played when he was with the Jets and it didn't go well at all, if I remember. And you've got this, the most complex defense in the NFL that causes teams all kinds of problems. And one of the things we said going into the game is what it does generally is it causes you to hesitate, hold the ball longer, and the longer you hold the ball against this defense, the worse things tend to get. The Steelers and Rodgers went to combat that by going, well, let's get the ball out immediately, right? And he had an average time to throw of basically 2 seconds, absurdly fast average time to throw. 2.3 is fast. 2 flat is you're basically negating any and all pass rush at that point. And it was you said this before occasionally, for all the smoke and mirrors, if you can get the ball in the air at some point, you can still get, a guy one-on-one with Jeffrey Okudah, which generally in the NFL in his career so far has been a good thing for the receiver, right? So, and Greg Olsen on the broadcast was kind of highlighting this, that they should be moving around DK Metcalf more, right? Coming into this game, nobody had faced press coverage more than DK Metcalf, which makes sense, big physical receiver, let's just get in his face, jam him, try and slow him down. They did a much better job of moving him around in this game, putting him in the slot, getting him away from that press coverage. But then they also felt like they were, I don't know if this was a Rodgers thing or if this was Arthur Smith, but you had this explosion in the NFL of these RPOs, run pass options, for a while, where teams fully built in this kind of concept of, well, it's kind of a run play, but we'll also build in passing concepts to it and really put defenses in a bind. But if you go back beyond that, Brett Favre used to run these way back in the day where they called them package plays, where it wasn't really an RPO, but it's it's a run play, and then if Brett likes the look, he's just going to throw a backside slant to a receiver, right? So it's this is a run play, but over there, just be awake, because if the right look is there, I'm just going to throw you a slant. This felt like that, where I don't know if they were fully built out RPOs, but Rodgers was just hey, be alive, look alive. If you get the right look, I'm just going to fire you the ball. And they did that a few times, and just this Vikings defense didn't really have an answer for that. They got the ball in the air quickly. They were, negating a lot of the looks. And then obviously you get the big play in there, which is the catch and run to DK Metcalf over the middle, which, by the way, Isaiah Rodgers hit something like 23.5 miles per hour running him down in that play, which is one of the fastest, NGS times. Oh, the other one later. So Isaiah Rodgers hit, I think, one of the fastest NGS mile per hour numbers they've ever recorded. Peyton Wilson running down Jordan Addison late in the game hit 22.48 miles per hour, which is the fastest mile per hour figure they've ever recorded for a linebacker.
For a linebacker, that's good. All the fastest ones are just, if you run 80 yards, you usually hit your fastest, which is why those things always need context. Couple late game decisions that I wanted to discuss here, though. Pittsburgh's up 10 going in, and so it's 4th and goal from the 3. I think it was Rodgers. They were short. It was 3rd and 11, 3rd and goal from the 11. Rodgers throws a short pass. They get stopped at the 3. And again, up 10, you can kick the field goal to go up 13. We talk about these decisions a lot. The field goal to go up 6. This is essentially the same thing, but with an extra touchdown in there. And Rodgers is saying, no, don't want to kick this thing. They called Minnesota calls a timeout. Steelers come back, 4th and goal from the 3, and they just run it. Get stopped for 2 yards, and so they're up 10. And making the Vikings go 99 yards, which is, interestingly enough, I thought a good decision by head coach Aaron Rodgers to make this call.
Except he took the ball out of his own hands.
Yeah,
that's a rookie decision,
right? But then he runs the ball, and Rodgers.
We say that all the time, right? Like there are two elements to these calls, like the decision to go or no go, and then what play do you call? Those are two slightly separate decisions that are both very important.
And Rodgers is the guy who loves throwing the ball on the goal line, right? Like, he just loves chucking it.
I am an unashamed Greg Olsen, not even apologist, just fan of the way he's so much better than any other color guy in these situations, right? These game management situations where it's like 4th down decisions, go, no go, 2 points or not, when do you go for it, at being able to not only make the sort of appropriately, the call, do you go for it, do you not, but also explain what the decision is to everybody, right? And there was one earlier as well where it's like he's also, not only does he know the rules, but he's good at explaining, like he knows what people are going to question. So there was a play where, was it Jalen Redmond, like tossed Aaron Rodgers to the turf using the back of his jersey, and he's aware, not only is it not a horse collar, but he's also aware that like everyone's going to think that's a horse collar tackle, so I should explain in 5 seconds why it's not.
Yeah.
He's so good at that. And I'm not going to name names at other color guys, but the difference between him yesterday explaining each one of these decisions quickly and efficiently and correctly, and other color analysts who are like, I don't even really know what the decision is here. Like, I don't know. You should go for it. Like, it's like the difference between him and other guys is ridiculous in these situations.
It's what we said. Like, why even ask the color guy if there's not really a great explanation?
Well, if they're clearly clueless about what's going on at the time, like, what's the point in asking him his opinion?
Anyway, 10-point game. All of a sudden, 81-yard busted coverage to Jordan Addison from Carson Wentz. Vikings go in.
Still kind of amazed he didn't score on that play.
I know.
Even with, like, because he caught it and then stumbled a little bit, which is part of the reason Peyton Wilson ran him down. But even then, it looked like he was going to get in right until he didn't.
So that makes it Vikings score a touchdown. That makes it 24-21. Then the Steelers drive down. They get to the Minnesota 40 with a 4th and 1. Mm-hmm. And I had
in between, the Vikings went for the onside kick. Obviously didn't get it. I'd forgotten Roman Wilson existed until he fell on the onside kick. It's like, oh, look, Roman Wilson's still there. Like, because it'd be,
where's that breakout
We were
season?
like going into the year being like, man, it's a pretty big year for Roman Wilson to show that he can be a guy. And that's become Calvin Austin. And we've just sort of forgotten that Roman Wilson's alive.
Yeah.
But he was the guy that recovered the onside kick, which is expected, but notable.
So then I was watching a little bit of college football the other day, and I just, tweeted out there, like, it is around both on Saturday and Sunday, Sam. It's pretty much an auto go.
Yeah.
On 4th and short in between the 40s.
Yeah.
Right now. Remember, rest in peace, the cowardly punt calculator thing that was out there, right?
But that was always the first area where this started to be a thing.
It was
right?
goal
way
line
back
too.
in the day.
It was tight goal line and in between the 40s.
But this was always,
especially on the plus side of the 40s.
This was always the most likely for those guys to go for it on 4th down. Like way back in the dinosaur era of nobody ever goes for it on 4th down, this was the first one to start. It's like, if you're on your opponent's side of the 50-yard line, but it's not quite field goal range, and this was back when field goal range was like, long 40s. Maybe we'll go for it here.
So anyway, this is just watching a lot of college football and a lot of NFL. You don't even flinch anymore, right? You're on your own 40, your own 45. You're on the 45 going in. This time you're on the 40 going in the same decision, right? You're up 3 in a world where the the 60-yard field goal's in play, even in Dublin, and you've got one play to win it. You've got one play to win it.
This was the classic one where it's like you end the game right now if you get a foot, right? It was 4th and a foot, and Pittsburgh chose to give the Vikings a chance to win the game with 1:06 left on the clock. And the thing is, if the punt goes into the end zone, you only gain like 20 yards of field position. Like it's so little, right?
And so what happened? Pittsburgh takes a delay of game. They punt it from the 45 and punt it into the end zone to get 25 yards of field position. 20 yards essentially.
Yeah. At the risk of becoming a complete Greg Olsen fanboy, he was making the point at the time this happened. He's like, and you know what? It doesn't even matter from this point if they win the game or not. It doesn't change the process, right? Don't let whatever happens from this point on. Because the thing is, the Pittsburgh defense was destroying Minnesota largely in the game, right? There's a pretty good chance that their defense will hold and they will win this game. However, that does not change the fact that all you need is a foot to literally end the game from this point.
I mean, the both things are true, right? I mean,
yeah, that's exactly.
Pittsburgh's
in either situation, they had a good chance of winning the game.
Defense had been playing well, but they just gave up a 99-yard drive, which included an 81-yard busted coverage. That's the point. You don't want to tempt that and say, okay, defense, go do it again. Now, it worked out because, okay, Minnesota, go 80 yards, get into field goal range to tie it up. Carson Wentz throws an interception on the first play, gets overturned. James Pierre couldn't hold it. Then he gets sacked, and, pretty much the game's over with an intentional grounding. I thought Carson Wentz's old-school pocket presence showed up in this one. He was under a lot of pressure, but he also wasn't getting rid of the ball, making quick decisions, and certainly not at that point doing a good job. So I thought Pittsburgh's defense, as we talked about, played the way they should, created havoc, and got the win. It was this was probably the best all-around team effort from Pittsburgh, where I thought the offense was efficient, the defense was very good outside of a couple big plays, and it should have been even worse if they didn't, if they had the fumble 6. But the only question would be a little bit of the game management, which I wouldn't want to roll that dice again. In the same opportunity.
I think there were some questionable game management situations. I feel like they will always be a little bit like that. I think Mike Tomlin is a very good head coach. I also think he's a little bit too old school in mentality in these types of situations that occasionally will come back to bite them. The other thing I've noticed that for at least the second time this year, the end of the Jordan Addison series, so Peyton Wilson runs him down. It looked for a second like that was going to be the difference between, they're not going to score on this drive. And it took them, was it 4th down? They finally punched it in. They ran a play, had a guy coming all the way across the formation, ended up wide open. Carson Wentz holds it long enough, finally gets in the touchdown. And for the second time this year, there was a big play resulting in a score where the two linebackers, Peyton Wilson and Patrick Queen, turn around and immediately start yelling at each other. Like, what the hell? Somebody screwed up. I can't remember what the other one was, but there was a much bigger play up the seam. And again, like
New England last week with Hunter Henry.
Yeah, that's exactly. And for the second time, they both just turned around like, what? So somebody's screwing up on a regular basis between those two guys who are like super athlete linebackers, but in Wilson's case, he hasn't been in the league that long.
Peyton Wilson lost some snaps last week.
Right.
It's a whole Cole Holcomb. So,
but for the second time in fairly quick succession on pretty important plays, those two have not been able to get on the same page and have blown a coverage somewhere.
All right, man. Extra time on the Dublin game for your FOMO. Steelers get the win. I got no more use for that game. New York Giants time, man. The Giants. We're going to have all sorts of Giants fans in watching this
shows today.
21-18, the Giants get their first win. They did lead the entire game, 21-18 over the formerly undefeated Chargers. Giants move to 1-3. Chargers fall to 3-1. Jackson Dart's first start. QB draw for a 15-yard touchdown to kick things off. You got Dart. You got Cam Scattaboo. Big game for the Giants. We'll talk Malik Neighbors as well. Torn ACL. He's going to be out for the season. Unfortunate injury on that end, but impressive win for the Giants.
Indeed. And obviously the place to start is we have a real, forget Jackson Dart's first start. We have the first start for an Irish kicker.
Oh, of course. Tell us about it.
Jude McAtamney, the Giants, he's been on the practice squad for God knows how long, but their kicker goes down. They signed Younghoe Koo, right? It's like, it's going to be another situation where they have one of these European kickers on the practice squad ready to go. Their kicker gets hurt, Graham Gano, and his groin injury or whatever it was. Remember when he couldn't kick? And then they signed Younghoe Koo, and he ends up getting the start. But apparently they signed him. They had a kicking competition during the week in practice. And shockingly, the guy that had forgotten how to kick and got cut hadn't remembered how to kick in the week between those two things. And so their practice squad Irish kicker won the competition, got the start, and I think it was perfect in kicks in this game.
That's great.
So the lesson to everybody is, if you want a kicker to be perfect during the game, just sign an Irish kicker.
That's all you got to do. It was a good game, man. It was a good game, back and forth. Giants got up early with the Jackson Dart. I mean, it wasn't just a 15-yard QB draw, 9-play, 89-yard drive for the Giants. And then you have a couple turnovers. Dexter Lawrence with a beautiful interception, tip pass to himself. A couple elite players like Dexter Lawrence and Max Crosby making elite tips and interceptions in this yesterday.
I so wanted to see him get in, right?
I know.
It was like a 40-yard rumble or whatever for the big fella. And was it Herbert actually ended up stopping him getting in? But anyway, amazing play by Dexter.
Giants come back with a 4-play, negative 1-yard drive for the field goal there.
Perfect.
So we'll get to the context around Jackson and the offense in a little bit here. And then, just before the half, the Chargers with a big play. Quentin Johnston again with a 36-yard touchdown.
Great throw as well.
Yeah, Herbert to Johnston has been an excellent connection so far this season. That made it 13-10. And so I mention this all the time, Sam. When you have teams that are touchdown-ish underdogs or more, they get up early in a lot of games, right? But usually the underdog runs out of gas at some point, or oftentimes they run out of gas. And credit the Giants, I think they did maintain the lead this entire time, the entire game. So it was 13-10 at the half. It's like, all right, the Chargers, they're the better team.
Yeah,
they're going to come back. They get the rookie quarterback on the other side, but the Giants come back to go up with touchdown and 2-point conversion from Scatterbo to make it 21-10. And then same thing, Chargers, it's like, all right, 54-yard touchdown from Marion Hampton late in the third quarter. Now it's within 3, 21-18, but the Giants held on. Their defense did a really nice job, made a bunch of stops and some turnovers. They set the offense up twice at the 3-yard line on interceptions. Drew Phillips, and Dexter Lawrence both had interceptions that set the offense up at the 3.
Yeah, that's great.
And that is, I think, the difference in the game.
It really is. It did feel like, the Chargers were the better team, and eventually, if we just keep playing, they'll end up coming back, taking the lead, and winning the game. But every time, they had a chance to do that, the Giants defense found one of those plays and set them up to go ahead, and that's huge. I mean, those are massive game-changing probability type of plays. The Dexter Lawrence one in particular is just a phenomenal individual effort to set them up. And it really did help them out. Plus, you have this dynamic where Joe Alt goes down, gets carted off, and you've got, now the Chargers are down both offensive tackles going up against a really good defensive line, and that's problems. So you've got, on one side, you've already got a guy who you're not in love with as a starter, and Trey Pipkins, he's okay, he's fine. You can deal with it. If you've got Joe Alt on the other side, when Alt goes down, now you've got Pipkins, Austin Deculus comes in, and you're like, okay, with the best will in the world, this is now a concern.
Yeah. So Chargers getting beat up on the offensive line again. I think every week the Giants defensive front has a chance to keep them in a game like this. And, I thought they played pretty well against Kansas City last Sunday night and, coming off a rough game against Dallas, and they did a nice job in this game as well. So I think the Giants can have this more competitive. They can be competitive every week, which is what we said, like difficult schedule, but be more competitive. Now, Jackson Dart, do you have any initial thoughts on Dart in his debut?
Yeah. A couple of things. So they did move the ball. So they were set up really well with a couple of very short fields and scored points, right? They also moved the ball reasonably well at times. Having said that, we said before, a good offensive performance, you can average 5-6 yards per play, those types of things. They averaged 3.6. So it's not like this was a team that was just marching up and down the field start to finish. They moved the ball on occasions. They did end up racking up some yardage, but they were massively outgained over the course of the game by the Chargers. What I thought was really slightly weird to me is remember they've been sort of working him into the lineup randomly over the first few weeks, and it's like he comes in, he runs like an option play, and you're like, okay, I guess they're just getting his feet wet and not asking him to throw the ball and whatever. It's just a way of getting him on the field. But then they put him out there, and it's like, no, they do seem to genuinely believe that he is some dynamic superpower as a running quarterback, which I never really got the impression of watching his college tape. I'm not saying he's like a statue-like pocket passer who can't move. You know, once he gets going, he's definitely a load to bring down. But I never watched his tape and thought, this is a guy that I want to build a serious part of a running offense around, you know? Whereas Anthony Richardson, you could definitely think that, right? Watching his tape, super athlete, literally the freakiest athlete to ever come into the league as a quarterback. I want to build a running offense around this guy and try and work out how to make him work as a passer before that. Watching Dart, you're just like, okay, if he has to scramble, maybe he can make some plays, but I'm not using that as a significant part of the offense. And yet this offense was like he was Tim Tebow out there. We're running legitimate read options. He can carry the ball at any time. We're going to build this thing around him and Scattaboo, working together as an option pairing. It's just an interesting way of reading his game.
Don't steal my take here.
I only stealing the comp because I was trying to think last night in our instant reaction thing, because it's like they've decided this kid is Michael Vick. It's the wrong comp because obviously Vick is just this freaky, insane, athletic dynamo, and they never really built an option offense around him because they didn't really know how to do that at the time. But I was trying to think who the right quarterback is to make that comp, because it's not like he's Cam Newton. They're not running QB power or anything, but it is Tebow. It's like
this was a full Tebow outing.
Yeah.
Like if
Skip
Bayless still had a show, he would roll in this morning and say, Jackson Dart is the next Tim Tebow.
All he does is win.
All he does is win. I mean, everything about it. You've got the 15-yard touchdown. You've got 54 yards on the ground on 10 carries. Some were scrambles. Some were designed runs. You have him skipping passes. I didn't count, but of his 20 passing attempts, I think, 3 were in rhythm, pretty much.
Yeah.
He threw a nice little quick out early and then bounced one later. Footwork, I thought, was horrendous. He got sacked 5 times, probably could have avoided all of them. Either because he was dancing in the pocket, he stepped up into one, there was an unblocked rusher that the pass protection didn't account for. Usually that's on the quarterback, at least to a point.
And that did feel like something that was on his tape in college the whole way. Like he didn't feel like he had an amazing pocket
manipulation,
yeah.
right? I didn't like the way he was maneuvering. And I'm talking like resetting your feet to throw. Like he bounced a dig route, or almost bounced it. He did complete it. Dig route that he, almost skipped in there or whatever. But he also moved the chains with his legs. The other Tebow, 2 more Tebow things in this game. The defense played inspired, right? You get the best of the defense. For people who don't remember when Tebow went on his little winning streak in 2011, you had a Denver Broncos defense that was really bad for a while.
Yeah.
But what happened was they started playing a little bit better when Tebow was in there. I don't know how much you want to give credit to the quarterback, the inspirational
just
leader.
Inspires his teammates.
But there's another element to this. The Giants running, this Dart running the ball, Scattaboo running the ball 25 times, which I know a lot of that was goal line carries, and they're trying to milk clock, and they're trying to, score late, and they were unable to do that. But they ran the ball 42 times for 161 yards.
Very Tebow.
And so it's very Tebow-like, right?
Yeah.
You had 13 completions. You were sacked 5 times, and you ran the ball 42 times with an inspired effort from the defense. The last Tebow in this game, Jackson Dart did throw a touchdown pass.
Yep.
And it was on the tight end shovel to Theo Johnson.
Right.
This was a full Tim Tebow effort from Jackson Dart.
Right.
Plus you get the coach is hugging his neck, and it's like, the kid, he did it, and gritted out the victory. It's full Tebow for Jackson
Right
Dart.
down to the gimmick passing touchdown. I believe there were also some, this was the first game since Tebow stats in there as well. I don't want to lean too hard into the Tim Tebow thing because Tebow is now like a pejorative as a quarterback comp, right? Like if you compare anybody to Tim Tebow, what you're really saying is like, this is a guy that can't throw the ball and isn't going to work out as an NFL quarterback. That's not how I mean this. I am making no determination whatsoever on what Jackson Dart will be as a starting quarterback going forward or how his career will pan out or any of that thing. All I am saying is the interesting thing to me was, like, whatever you want to say about Tim Tebow, as a quarterback, he was a pretty unusual athlete. He was a big, strong dude who could run the ball and was a legitimate threat in that area of the game. Whatever about what he was going to do as a passer and, how funky his motion looked and all those kinds of things, you would understand why somebody rocked up, watched him practice and went, oh yeah, we're going to have an unusual offense here. This is not going to look the way it looks for Peyton Manning. We're going to do some stuff with this kid, right? I wouldn't have thought that if you were just watching Jackson Dart's college tape, and yet that appears to be how the Giants have read him. They have watched this guy play and said, you know what? This is going to look a little bit like it looked for Tim Tebow, hopefully with some enhanced passing on the back of that, right?
Yeah.
Now, we haven't necessarily seen a ton of advanced passing on the back of that, but I just find it very interesting that they have looked at his tape and thought, this guy can be the rushing version of Tim Tebow, in addition to whatever he can do as a passing quarterback.
Yeah, and I'm just saying the result of – I'm talking about the games that Tebow won. There's a lot of similarities to that. Again, I'm not projecting his entire career either, so preface all of that.
Right.
The other part of Dart's game, again, I think he's got to be better in the pocket with his footwork, his accuracy, in rhythm passes. Sure. He always had this thing at Ole Miss where he was willing to give his receivers opportunities to make plays down the field, which he did. I mean, right off the bat, he's throwing the ball down the field, and unfortunately, that was also one of the plays, a jump ball to Malik Neighbors that ends up being the play where Neighbors gets injured. So I would expect Dart. Remember, he finished 13 of 20 for 111, sacked 5 times.
Very Tim Tebow.
Long pass of 18 yards. I would expect him to hit some of those downfield passes, even without Neighbors, but he will give those opportunities down the field. So I thought pass game-wise, very inconsistent, uneven performance from Dart, but gritted it out on the ground, and the 2 short fields, I think, were massive in this game.
Of course, absolutely. Handed to me by our live fact checker, who shall remain nameless. Per ESPN Insights, Jackson Dart is the second player since 2000 to have a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown, and 50 rushing yards in their first career start, joining the great Tim Tebow.
Oh, see? I didn't steal this take from anyone. I'm watching the film, and I'm like, what is this? What does this remind me of?
Tim Tebow's fun, by the way, because you cannot bring his name up without angering somebody.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
I would say the majority of people will hear a Tim Tebow comp and be offended by that, right? If you're a Giants fan or whatever, you're like, oh, you're saying he's not going to be good, he can't pass the ball, blah, 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 right? So I'm not saying that either. But then if you point out that, hey, I'm not saying he's going to be Tim Tebow, there will be other people that are like, oh, you're saying Tim Tebow is bad? He was just a winner. Born winner who got screwed by the system, right? It's like there's no winning. Like, you can't bring up Tim Tebow without pissing off some subset of humanity.
Oh, the comments. I'm already ready. I mean,
Tim Tebow was the modern world before the modern world was the modern world.
I read all of your comments, mostly. So, all mostly. I'm ready. I'm ready for Giants fans to come in and be like, why would you do this? We just won. It's a victory Monday. Why would you say such a thing?
He was the current world landscape before that was a thing. Tim Tebow was the canary in the coal mine, right? We should have seen the warning signs when Tebow was a thing and everyone was like, either this is the greatest human that's ever lived or like, this guy's garbage. He doesn't belong in the league. We should have seen the warning signs, and we didn't, and here we are.
I'll be interested to see Dart's development, though, because I thought some of his best work was the short and intermediate game at Ole Miss. I think he's got that footwork and accuracy and touch in him. We just haven't seen it in the 20 passes.
If nothing else, he did spark something, or he was there when something was sparked. Whether or not he was the cause of the spark, they beat the Chargers, and that seemed absurd coming into this game. So credit to the Giants for that. Brian Daboll's loving life, giving Jackson Dart a giant hug after the game, like everything's great. So look, this is how something good will start, if it starts. Now, whether or not he was the catalyst for that or he just happened to be there along for the ride is to be determined going on, right? But this is something that's exciting for Giants fans. Like, clearly, things weren't going to go great with Russell Wilson as the starting quarterback. Maybe things will go great with Jackson Dart in the starting lineup. The other thing,
I promised an honest take on Monday morning, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent. I promised I was going to bring you back down to earth.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't want to, just a little bit.
But Giants fans, be excited.
Right.
Sure.
Chargers, Marion Hampton looked great. I mean, he
Yes.
made a couple of really, really nice plays that kept him in this game. Quentin Johnston, again, made a big play. I mean, him just remembering or learning how to catch the football is a huge development for a guy who was always a pretty impressive athlete. It's just that when the ball arrived in his general vicinity, you could not rely whatsoever on him being able to catch the ball. I think it's ESPN again. They have that thing where they just on a 0 to 100 scale, they're just like catch ability or whatever. It's like he was a 9 or something last year. Now, it's not like he's special, but he's just normal. He's somewhere in the middle as a receiver. Going from 9 out of 100 to anything in the middle is massive for a guy that's going to be open quite a lot because he's huge and fast. So that's a huge thing for the Chargers. Obviously, the massive negative for them is Joe Alt going down, and they may now be in a situation where that offensive line is just too banged up for them to be a real contender. That's a very real concern for this team. And I tweeted out yesterday, like, the league badly needs some kind of offensive line developmental pathway because we're now in a world where if you lose 2 offensive linemen from your starting 5, your season's done. Like, you can't win the Super Bowl like that anymore because there's teams that won't. Like, if you're the Eagles or whatever and you're rolling in there with 7 guys on the defensive line, we've seen what happens with the Chiefs. If you don't have your starting 5, you might get there. You might be able to win a couple of playoff games, but you're not winning a Super Bowl with that kind of offensive line. The Chiefs are now down 2 of these guys. We've seen what happens with the Vikings. Like, you miss 2 members of your starting 5, game over. And there's so many teams now in the NFL that are like that.
Backup offensive lineman, it's not like a backup receiver or corner. I don't know. You can kind of hide them a little bit. Other positions you can't
also
hide.
Just the drop off is so huge
is.
now. And then the last thing we need to get to is the Malik Neighbors ACL.
A lot of people blaming the MetLife turf.
It's another one where
at MetLife.
Yeah, he's going deep down the field. It's a jump ball. He then has to stop himself, plant the foot in the ground to jump up and try and win a jump ball. And as soon as he does that, the knee twists inside, something clicks, and it's like, yeah, that's an ACL. And obviously being MetLife, everybody jumps to the MetLife turf again. I do kind of wonder at what point MetLife, the company, is like, hey, we pay you a lot of money, Giants, Jets, stadium, naming rights. I don't know how much that contract is, but it's a lot. For positive PR, right? We want our name associated with good things, the NFL, football, blah, blah, blah. At the moment, our name is being quite closely associated with gives you ACL injuries. How about you put some turf on that field that doesn't do that? Like, at what point did they start leaning on the Giants and the Jets to say, hey, this is getting silly?
I've seen the big list of everybody that's blown an ACL on that turf.
I mean, it is statistically the worst turf in the NFL, I believe.
Yeah, why can't they? What is it about the turf? Because, ironically, I mean, Vinny Testaverde, beginning of the 99 season.
Vinny, huh?
He blew out after he had a great 98 season. Week 1 blows his Achilles on the old school turf.
Right.
But like got that, in the Meadowlands. So that was, I remember people complaining about that. They complained about Veteran Stadium and the Meadowlands back then.
Yeah.
A ton, the turf, because they had like seams in the carpet.
Yeah.
They had all these rips and holes, and they'd have to fix it mid-game and everything. I mean, it was brutal. And now, the same, Jets and Giants, they're, it's not the old Giant Stadium, it's the same turf issue. Same issue.
Yeah.
I don't know, how do you fix that?
I mean, I assume there's a different type of turf you can put down or whatever, or grass, but I do genuinely wonder at what point the corporate money starts to say, we are now being this is a negative for us as a PR enterprise. Like, we're supposed to put our name on the stadium for good things, but at the moment, all anybody says is MetLife turf.
So you're worried about the MetLife people?
I'm not worried about them, but I'm curious. Like, obviously the Giants and the Jets have no real interest at the moment in fixing this because they haven't yet. But the thing that makes giant corporate overlords do things is when other giant corporate overlords say, hey, how about you fix this? It's starting to piss us off.
I mean, I think having your good players get hurt, because you have to play there 8 or 9 times a year. Not, the Chargers don't have to.
You would think it's a massive problem.
Once every couple times,
but
couple of years. You should worry about losing your players if it's an issue.
Yeah. But
All
I
right.
do, the only thing that tends to make giant corporate monoliths do anything is other giant corporate monoliths exerting pressure on them.
All right, MetLife, get to it. All right. We done with that one?
Yeah.
Let's go Philadelphia Eagles 31, Tampa Bay Bucks 25. Another strange game flow here. Eagles got up 24-3. It was 24-6 at the half. The Bucks kept creeping back into it. It was still 31-13, almost into the fourth quarter. Bucks had two 70-plus yard touchdowns to help them get back into it, and they still had a chance at the end. But the Eagles, they were up 8 and then ran the clock out and took a safety, negative 34-yard sack.
Oh, that's going to hurt the stats.
Or run. What is that? How does that affect the old they should just delete that from the stats. The poor Eagles only end up with 88 yards rushing because of the negative 34 on the intentional safety. Eagles moved to 4-0. Bucks fall to 3-1. A lot of storylines in this one. But it started with a blocked punt for a touchdown for the Eagles. Second straight weeks the Bucks have had, last week it was a kick, this week a punt blocked for a touchdown.
This was like the inverse of the Eagles-Rams game, where for the first half, it's like, oh, Philadelphia is running away with this. They are about to stomp the Bucks. This is finally the good team that Tampa Bay runs into, and they simply can't hang with because of the injuries and because, they've been riding their luck a little bit. And Baker Mayfield's had a lot of turnover luck so far. You've highlighted this. Yes, he hasn't had interceptions, but he should have had up until this point. And this is the game where it all comes back down to earth.
But only one pick. I mean, he got away with another one. It was a Cooper DeJean right in his hands, and he dropped. That was a big turn of events, too. It was a dropped interception. Then it turned into a personal foul penalty for the Eagles at one point. But yeah, go ahead, carry on.
Yeah, and look for a second. Didn't he have another one that was negated by a penalty as well? It's like this dude really is just leading a charmed existence at this point.
By the way, I don't mean to count these for Baker. It was just week 1 there was 4, and I'm watching film.
Right.
I'm like, man, there's 4, and then the next week there's 2, and then I'm like, dude, this guy's had. I love Baker. He's had 7 dropped interceptions and 3 fumbles that they've recovered to this point until he finally.
And again,
threw
look,
the pick
both
in the
things
end
can be true. Like Baker Mayfield can be making amazing clutch plays late in the game and be the reason that they are winning these games late on. He can also be getting a bit lucky and, should have had more turnovers than he's had.
It is. Both things are true season for sure.
Those two things can both exist without, one taking away entirely from the other. But this, it felt like the Eagles were absolutely just stomping the Bucs completely. And then every time it's like we are one score away from this just being done, right? Every time we were in that position, the Bucs got one monster play to keep them in it, right? Like they're down 24-6, and then Cameron Johnson, the punt returner, gives them a really nice field position with a big punt return. Last week was the week of the blocked field goal. This was the week of the monster punt return, whether it was touchdown or just giant gains. There were huge punt returns all over the NFL this week. Another one where it's like we're down huge, one more score or one non-score by the Bucs and it's over. And then Baker hits Emeka Egbuka for that touchdown, the 77-yarder. Another one late on where it was Bucky Irving making a huge play. Like every time the Bucs were clinging on by a thread, they made one huge play to keep in it and then did start the comeback because Philadelphia in the second half simply stopped having any kind of production.
This stat is wild. The Philadelphia Eagles. In the first half, Jalen Hurts goes 15 of 16 passing.
Yeah.
For 130 passing yards. No sacks. 2 touchdowns. They're both underhand, but it's fine. And then in the second half.
Why do you get underhand plays?
Well,
it's a throw.
It's a forward underhand toss. A creative first one.
Baseball snobbery.
Both to
What's wrong with an underhand
They're
pass?
turning a double play, and they get a whole touchdown pass out of it. So in the first half, 15 of 16 for Jalen Hurts for $130. In the second half, he goes 0 for 8, sacked twice. And because the NFL does it right, the sack yards come off your team passing stats, not your players' rushing yards like in college football. Mm-hmm. That means in the second half, the Philadelphia Eagles had negative 18 passing yards.
Right.
And they still scored 31 points and won by 6, really won by 8. They had an 8-point lead and then took the safety.
Yeah.
That was just a very uncommon. And it wasn't like, well, the run game saved them. Saquon Barkley had 19 carries for 43 yards.
Yeah.
And his one touchdown was a 10-yard little sweep off the tush push look, which
really
was
nice play,
which was great. Like they've shown these counters at some point, right, off the push, but it's a beautiful counter off that. So he just walks in for a 10-yard touchdown. If you take that away, he goes 18 carries for 33 yards. That's under 2 per carry.
Yeah.
So the Eagles' offense, This is why the Eagles are so good.
I mean, one of those underhanded plays was kind of like fake the tush push look as well, and then just turn underhanded to the pod on the right.
Yeah.
That was like a rugby setup. Like that was like in rugby where you get the tap and go from like 5 yards out from the goal line, or 10 yards out. What you try and do is sort of tap it, and then it just plows forward, and let's try and force our way over the goal line. That's kind of tough now because teams are preparing for it. So what you see a lot of teams do, Leinster in particular, is tap it, move it on a bit, get it somewhere else where there's less bodies. The Eagles just did that. They're like, oh, you think this is a rugby play? Well, watch this. This is a different rugby setup we're going to give you. So this felt like the game. They did this a while ago as well, a couple of years ago, where it's like, oh, you think all we do is the tush push? Well, we're going to show you all of the variants off the tush push look in one game, just so you got to now spend the next rest of your life preparing for these in addition.
As you should. I mean, that's great. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd say that all the time. You should have an entire QB sneak package. Yeah, you should have an entire tush push package.
But what I was saying about this is like the reverse of last week. Remember last week, one of the stats that came out of that game is Jalen Hurts had 17 passing yards in the first half. So there's now back-to-back weeks where for one half of the game, they have basically had 0 passing game.
This is not new. Which year was it? It may have been the first. I mean, we've been doing this a while now. It may have been in 22, with the first year that they went to the Super Bowl, and then certainly in 23 when they started 10-1. They kept sneaking the wins in, but they were close games, and then they collapsed in the second half. There were definitely games where Jalen Hurts and the Eagles' offense felt like they'd have one good half, and that was it. And I don't know if this is only Jalen Hurts exclusive, because this is his third offensive coordinator now in 4 years.
Right.
So they definitely had these stretches where it's like, hey, the Eagles get up 28-0, and then they just stop moving the ball offensively, and the other team comes back, or whatever it might be. They do get into these spurts. So I think they're 4-0, and so there's two ways to read this. A team with -18 passing yards and an okay running game scored 31 points and won the game to go to 4-0. Like every week, Eagles find more than one way to win. This week we had special teams. The defense gave up 2 70-plus yarders, but other than that, made the stops when they needed. They got the red zone interception. Multiple ways to win in Philadelphia. On the other hand, if you're cutting it close 2 straight weeks with the Rams, with the Bucs, at some point maybe that comes back to bite. You don't want to have a half where you just can't move the ball through the air. And you also don't want A.J. Brown giving, cryptic social media messages or whatever he's doing. 2 catches on 9 targets for A.J. Brown for 7 yards. A week after, he goes 6 for 108, 109 in the second half last week. So, this was one of the strange games where I think they did want to get A.J. Brown involved and didn't or couldn't. Usually when they want to go that way, when they need him, it usually works. This is one of those games where, it didn't.
Yeah, and like normally it's A.J. Brown at 7 yards, but the ball never went in his direction.
Right, it was just like they just didn't throw it to him.
This is one where he actually led the team in targets by more than double, I think, the next guy, and still didn't get any production.
And then,
both sets of corners, by the way, like in this game, I think did a really good job.
Get the Quinyon. We got a Quinyon Mitchell stat.
You got a stat?
From Next Gen. He did a really nice job. He was in a battle with Emeka Egbuka. Quinyon Mitchell, per Next Gen stats, 44 coverage snaps, 2 for 9 when targeting him for just 6 yards. And there was a tweet out there, too. It was tight windows forced. He had 7. So that's on targets, right? And I think it was the most since 2018.
Because the big play to Egbuka would basically split the safeties. It wasn't on Quinyon Mitchell, obviously.
Right.
So if you're looking at just the stats or the cover, like Egbuka's big game statistically, the big play, it was a weird play as well because that's not where the ball is supposed to go. Emeka Egbuka is basically running a clear-out route, and it's supposed to take away the coverage, and then the guy comes in behind him. That's the route you're targeting. If Baker just goes, screw it, we're down bad, we're down hard, I'm Baker Mayfield, I'm rolling the dice, and I'm just going to heave it right into the gap between the 2 safeties and hope I get it in there.
Honestly,
and he kind of didn't, and one of the safeties just made a terrible mess of playing it, and it gets right into Ibuka's hands, and then he's gone for the touchdown. It's like, it was a weird play because that's not where the ball's supposed to be.
There's a lot of defenses or pass defenses I would define as good. Chargers, Eagles. Honestly, I think the Steelers should be and will be by the end of the season.
Right.
But they give up. But they have 2 or 3 plays a game where there's receivers behind the defense and you're giving up big plays. In this one, I mean, the Eagles' defense was very good until outside of the 100 49 yards on 2 passes
Right.
for Bucky and Ibuka.
And that's the thing. I think it was Makuba making a mess of that play, if I remember rightly, as opposed to.
Don't tell Drake.
I don't want to.
Don't tell Drake Holiday.
Makuba's had a great season so far, and he looks really good. So I don't want to dump on the kid, but I think he goofed on that play or just played it badly, misread it in the air.
And it looked like Baker might do it again. His scrambling ability has been exceptional this year.
He's so good at it.
I had that stat in the preview show where he had, positive plus 13 EPA under pressure, and no one else was above 1. Everyone else was negative. And most of that was via scrambles. And it looked like he did it again, but the scramble drill turned into an interception instead of a big play this time.
And ironically, on the one play where he actually gets intercepted, it's tipped. He's had a bunch where he should have been intercepted and gotten away with it. And then this one, you could argue, I don't know. I mean, it looked pretty speculative anyway, but it was Ed Reed Blankenship gets his hand on it, and that deflects it and ends up being intercepted. It's ironically, the first time he's actually punished and turned over, it was kind of unlucky.
For the Bucs, you also had Tristan Wirfs came back.
And that made a huge difference.
Yeah, Graham Barton back at center, and Chris Godwin made his return as well after last year's season-ending injury. So, look, I think the Bucs, a couple more weeks until Mike Evans comes back from the hamstring. Still a very good team. Second straight week. 3 straight weeks of the Bucs, winning in the end. They've played now 4 straight close games. They're going to be, they're going to be a tough out. They're competitive, and they're, as good as any team in the NFC, I'd say, especially as far as health goes.
Yeah, that's the thing. Tristan Wirfs coming back made a huge difference to that offensive line. That definitely cuts down the number of plays where you need Baker to scramble and make miracles happen. Great to see Chris Godwin back making some plays, given what he's dealt with in terms of injuries. Mike Evans will be back as well. That'll obviously help. It's difficult because on the one hand, I think they were comfortably the second best team for the majority of this game. On the other hand, they did come back and make it tight, and you expect them to get better over the course of the year because of the number of players they've got coming back from injury. So it's I'm not quite sure how you want to read that in big picture terms.
All right, man, I'm going to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel, getting you ready for the rest of the NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss. So we've been talking about this the last few weeks. Listen up. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, you bet $5. If it wins, doesn't matter. If it wins, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever you want to do. FanDuel has you covered. The NFL season's here. The only question is, are you ready to play? So you go to FanDuel.com/CTM to download the FanDuel app today. To get started, FanDuel.com/CTM. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
Nice. Charles G in the chat is questioning no mention of a 65-yard field goal. We were only interested in field goals / kickers if it's 65 is not a record, right? If it's a record kick, we'll think about it.
I'm not interested in most field goals, but yeah, there was a 65-yard field goal before the half.
Look, 65 yards is nothing these days.
Did I write it in my notes?
Or if it's an Irish kicker. If it's Irish or a record, we'll talk about it. 65, it's one less than the record.
Just records and Irish kickers. That's all we care about.
Mm-hmm. It is, I think, the furthest outdoor kick of all time. I believe that's true.
That's impressive.
I think that's true.
I'm sick of the long, stupid field goals. Sick of all of it. What's next? Atlanta Falcons get the win, 34-27 over the Washington Commanders. Both teams 2-2 now.
Yes. Just before you do that, though, I think it was Scott Kazmar. I don't think it was him. I think it was his thought. I think he was retweeting somebody that said, it is interesting, though, if the league has accidentally stumbled into this dynamic where you can attempt to kick from 75 yards. However, there's a much larger chance of it being blocked now than there used to be.
Oh, yeah.
If that's a real thing now, as opposed to just a 4-week freak phenomenon, that's interesting. If it's because one or the other is bad.
It is slightly more exciting.
If they're getting blocked all the time, But if they're in the air, it's like 90%, 99% guaranteed. That sucks. Or if it's you can now just attempt kicks from wherever and they're never going to get blocked and it's just field goals are now huge. That's also terrible. But if you're in this weird world where like the perfect balance exists, where you can attempt a 70-yard field goal in every game, but it might get blocked and go the other way. Well, now I'm all right. I'm kind of interested again.
I guess I'm okay with that. Blocked field goals for big returns. All right, Falcons 34, Commanders 27. Falcons bounce back from last week. I got some theories. Michael Penix, 20 of 26 for 313, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Drake London back, 8 catches for $110, and Bijan doing his thing once again, 4 for 106 through the air, plus 75 on the ground and a touchdown. This was what the Falcons are supposed to look like offensively. It took them 4 weeks, but this was their best outing, certainly on offense.
Watching this game and the Patriots game, I just spent the entire time wondering what the hell happened a week ago. I do not understand that Carolina-Atlanta game. It made no sense in isolation, and it makes no sense in the context of what came before or after it. Bizarre.
It hit me as I was watching. We'll talk Panthers-Patriots in a minute here, but it definitely hit me as I'm watching Drake May, and I'm like, man, this is old school Drake May just attacking the middle of the field for the Patriots against, and then I go, oh, wait, it's Carolina's defense. 3 out of 4 weeks this year, I come away thinking the middle of Carolina's defense and their linebackers are so bad. And then you remember that Michael Penix Jr. doesn't see or throw to the middle of the field. And how many plays were drawn up where someone's like, open player, middle field, open player, Penix isn't throwing it. It just doesn't fit what Penix likes to do against talking about Carolina. This is why they weren't moving the ball. But Penix got back to zipping it outside the numbers and getting Drake London involved, and it was what we thought it could be coming into this season.
Yeah, it really was. And their playmakers are making plays. Like you've mentioned, Bijan Robinson, he's been making plays every single week. Tyler Algier made a couple of big plays in here as well. Kyle Pitts may have finally, actually become Kyle Pitts.
I have in my notes, like the whole thing's changed. Like, does someone else buy low on him? Is this the year? Now I'm thinking, when do the Falcons lock up?
Give him the giant contract.
Kyle Pitts. Everything. I mean, tight end's a fascinating position because I think there's a certain athleticism component to it. If you're just a great athlete with any kind of feel for the game, you should be an effective tight end. But with Pitts, it was always like, okay, he's open, he's dropping it, he's maybe not running the right route or the right depth, just didn't have a good feel for the position, right? You think about Kelsey and Gronk and what Trey McBride's doing and George Kittle, they have a feel for the position. They're in the right place at the right time. They make contested catches. They make plays after the catch. Whatever switch appears flipped in Kyle Pitts, even in the games where the offense wasn't good, it's just he's catching the ball and getting upfield when he's supposed to. He's in the right place at the right time. It looks smooth. It's not forced. He's not dropping key passes. Things look much better for Kyle Pitts, and I think it's much needed for the Falcons.
They really do. With, as you said, a quarterback that does not love targeting the middle of the field where, like, the majority of tight end success still exists. Like, there's still even more to be unlocked, I believe, in Kyle Pitts. Only now it is focused more on the quarterback, whereas before it's like, why is Kyle Pitts, not doing better just individually? Now you've got Kyle Pitts kind of cooking and theoretically some more to come if the quarterback gets more improved over the middle of the field. But point is, you're like Bijan, Tyler Algier, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. Like, this is weaponry that's working here.
It should stress the defense, and it did in this one. I thought Penix, beautiful double move to Drake London early on Marshawn Lattimore. I think Lattimore continues to have some struggles, giving up big plays. The 69-yard pass to Bijan Robinson, who's just so smooth catching the ball out of the backfield. Pitts open in the flat for a touchdown. They were up 24-13, Atlanta. It was a good second straight week, though, the Commanders in this game where it's back and forth. Last week, the Commanders pulled away from the Raiders. In this one, they had answers, though, right? They were down 2 scores. Mariota hits Deebo Samuel on a beautiful touchdown on 4th and 3. Mariota made some big plays in this game for the Commanders. And then I thought the play of the game, 1-score game, and Penix hits Drake London on a 3rd and 7, little timing route. Low throw from Penix. London digs it out, keeps his feet in bounds. That kept the chains moving, and they eventually go up 2 scores there. But again, the expectation coming into the year after what we saw at the end of last season, Penix's confidence in Drake London. This is the first time I thought Drake London looked really like himself. And then you combine that with not just Bijan, Tyler Algier had that ridiculous 15-yard touchdown run where he's contacted, 4 or 5 yards in the backfield and just breaks off of it and outruns everybody. The Falcons' offense should be difficult to defend with these playmakers as long as Penix is giving them a chance, and that's what we saw in this game.
Yeah, no, this always sounds stupid when you say it, but Kyle Pitts, I thought, played really – or not Kyle Pitts, Michael Penix Jr. played really well other than one interception, which was awful.
It was really bad. And also,
it was so bad that I was looking for something weird to have happened on the play. Like, I was like, did he get hit when he threw that, even though there's nobody near him somehow?
Just
like, that was so odd, where he just – it looked like it didn't have the legs to get there anyway, even independent of the guy dropping underneath and picking it off. So that was very, very bad. So bad that you look at it and you're like, what? There's something weird happened on this play that I missed live and doesn't appear to be there. Outside of that, though, he played really well and had other things that, don't show up on a stat sheet or do show up on a stat sheet but sort of not quarterback numbers. Like, it was Bijan put the ball on the ground and Kyle Pitts, or why do I keep calling him Kyle Pitts? Or Michael Penix Jr. saves the play, like dives on the football, that kind of thing. But like, this was a really good game from him off the back of not good performance.
Second straight week, the Commanders did not have Jaden Daniels. I thought Mariota held the fort pretty well. He had a bad interception in there, kind of heaved it to, again, the rookie Xavier Watts.
And no McLaurin either.
Yeah, no Terry McLaurin. I mean, given those parameters, the 4th and 3 pass to Deebo Samuel and connecting on that, big scramble in there for Mariota as well. I thought he did well to keep them in it. I do think some of the Commanders' issues, though, are popping up on the defensive side of the ball, the inability to get consistent pressure.
Yeah.
Lattimore was a question at the end of last year, and for us at the beginning of this season, I think that's showing up a little bit as well. So even when Jaden Daniels is back, I think presumably we're going to have him back for the next game. I do have some concerns about this Commanders defense. So this goes both ways, right? Falcons felt better offensively, felt like they were back after the sky was falling last week against Carolina. And then for Washington, I think some of their defensive concerns are popping up again.
Yeah, they don't have enough pass rush, really. I mean, this is a fairly obvious red flag on paper heading into the season. It's definitely an issue. You had Dorrance Armstrong, who was good, he's been very productive so far this season. He was the only defensive lineman that had multiple pressures in this game against the Falcons' offensive line that's, could be attacked. And Frankie Louvu, who they send on the blitz all the time as a linebacker, somebody else needs to be able to get pressure on that defensive line. Otherwise, it's just not enough.
Anything else on this one?
They did the classic. They were late. Another one of these, you're down 2 scores late in the game. You get the first score. Do you go for 2? Yes or no? They went for 2.
Yeah, they were down 9 and went for 2 to make it down 7.
Yeah.
So they did it early, and it was the right move. The Falcons.
This was the game, I think, where the announcing crew had butchered it start to finish the conversation about the 2 thing.
Yeah, it's tough for me to catch the conversations during the 7. But this was 7 games in the 1 o'clock window, the 7-box window. But you caught it. They're like, what are they doing?
Yeah, I mean, it was the classic. Like, the play-by-play guy always is just like, what do you just ask the question, dumbfounded, right? Whether or not they're actually dumbfounded or not, I think is up for debate. 'Cause sometimes
I heard one of the games they were just yelling out, they got more information. They got more information. So I don't know.
Was that this game?
It might have been this game.
I
don't know if
and
someone
JJ Watt is the announcing crew.
Oh, was it JJ?
That's the crew that butchered the one. I can't remember if this is the game or if it happened again somewhere else. But the Iron Eagle JJ Watt booth had one of these situations where it was down 2 scores that they went for 2. And I think, Iron Eagle's just like, well, do you go for it? What are they doing? It's always no. Does he actually not know, or is he just that's how you start the question, right? Pitch it to the play-by or pitch it to the color guy. And then JJ sounded like he had no earthly idea what the conversation even is. And late in the thing, he said, "Oh, well, the earlier you go for it, the more information you've got." It sounded like someone just yelled at in his ear, and he's like, "Oh, quick, repeat it."
That's what I kept hearing. It does sound, that's exactly what I was going to say. It sounded like somebody just said that to him, and
because he was like the first bit he had no idea, and then there was a giant pause.
Okay. That was the part that I caught.
Well, the earlier you go for it, the more information you've got.
Kudos for the more information. Shout out.
I think that was this game. Either way, that booth made up balls of
JJ
that
on
conversation.
We should get JJ on the show to talk about it.
Oh, yeah, big fan.
Now
JJ of us.
Now that we're not on, now that we're not at
JJ
PFF.
hates PFF.
Yeah.
And ironically, I think it was definitely
let's say this tactfully.
accelerated.
We made JJ Watt.
Of course. It was definitely accelerated by, a period of time where PFF thought and said and statistically put out that Myles Garrett was better than his brother. That poured gas on the fire. I do think, though, that it predates that. Ironically, for a guy who, PFF said J.J. Watt's career was phenomenal up until he got hurt and it got derailed a bit. I feel like J.J. Watt is one of those people that hates PFF just in principle, Who are these guys coming in, telling me about our game, having never sat in the room, having never done two-a-days, having never done that 4 a.m. practice, out where I'm on my own and, on Hard Knocks. They never did that.
Even though
they don't have the right to tell me about my game.
Even though PFF was
right
talking about how great J.J. Watt is, even before the sack totals
principle,
and everything.
He's one of these people I think would just hate it as a thing, right? If you've never been in the meeting room with my defensive line coach, you don't have the right to even
Can we get
talk
JJ
about
on the show, please? Someone?
But it's funny because I think he sort of carried that into, his broadcasting career where he's just like a true old school dinosaur.
He got it right. He got the information right.
Somebody got it right and told JJ.
I got no more use for that game. Detroit Lions 34, Cleveland Browns 10. Lions moved to 3-1, 3 straight wins after that difficult Week 1 game against the Packers. Browns fall to 1-3. Funny story that just happened about an hour ago, Sam.
Yeah?
Yeah, I got my notes here, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had to rearrange some of the 1 o'clock games, so I copied my Browns-Lions notes to move them in my document.
Mm-hmm.
That was on the clipboard. And I always go to Twitter while we're on the show here, and I tweet out the link to the show, and I'm like, here's the game we're talking about, here's the link, and I just do it throughout the time. So I clicked whatever the game preview was, I clicked the name of the game, and then I pressed Control-V.
Yep.
Send.
Mm-hmm.
I sent out my Browns-Lions notes instead of the link to the show. So I feel like for people that missed it, I should just read them.
You're this is like full boomer tech, the people that accidentally text a tweet or tweet a text.
I'm like, for years, how did you text a tweet? How did you tweet a text?
Right.
Like, how did you do that?
Yeah, we basically just did it there.
And I tweeted out
your notes.
And then I was really scared because you never know what you put in your notes. I deleted it immediately, scrambled. But even when you delete it, sometimes it's lurking.
Did somebody screenshot it?
So I'm just gonna come clean. Flacco floating an interception.
Yeah.
Hutch hurt. Hutch back.
Yeah.
Hutch strip sack negated. Detroit offense is a good battle against this Cleveland defense. Khalif Raymond punt return touchdown to make it 27-10. These are my notes. Browns hanging in there, but Flacco's interceptions were killer.
Yeah.
Kirby Joseph, then DJ Reed. Aiden Hutchinson, 2 sacks. Beat up on Cornelius Lucas. A few nice plays by Isaiah Bond. So if you caught it, I have no fear.
No.
That's all I put out there. I've got more thoughts and notes around that, but those were the key things that I accidentally put out there.
Yeah, I think you hit on the sort of crux of the game, which is the Browns did hang in there. You look at the score and you're like 34-10 is a beatdown, one-sided complete. No, it was a reasonably tight battle, and in particular the Browns defense that we were saying that's the key to them hanging in this game is that defense has been looking like one of the best in the league. Can they exploit this Lions offensive line? Can they make them look the way other teams have earlier in the season, or did the Lions really get themselves back in shape? They did a good job, but they needed help from the offense. It never came. And so eventually the Lions, the punt return touchdown was huge. Again, the week of the punt return touchdown. That was a big thing. And then the Lions sort of eventually went away. But, the Browns defense, I think, did have a good account of themselves in this game. They did. It was the first time anybody ran the ball against them, but it was just a tough battle, man. I thought, Jared Goff had to heave up an interception into double coverage. He had been completing 74% of his passes. There was a couple drops in there, but he goes 16 of 27 for 168. The reason why I picked the Lions in this one is I just didn't think that the Browns offense had enough. They made a couple big plays early, and that was about it.
But yeah, if the Browns had a mediocre offense, this is a good game. This is a close game. And then it's like, all right, if there's a punt return for a touchdown, of course that's going to sway things when the Lions are just a better overall team. Jahmyr Gibbs did break out for a couple bigger runs there, which was good to see. He used his burst to get to the edge, including a touchdown. Goff did make a few nice throws in there, heaved the interception, a couple nice throws that were dropped. Jameson Williams, I think, left one or two plays on the table, but it was a good battle. Like, it's a good go back and watch the film, I'd say, between the Lions offense and the Browns defense. But the Lions are just a better team, and never felt like it was in doubt because the Browns offense just can't do much right now. Their offensive line is just getting whooped. Yeah, it got beat up. I mean, Hutchinson had a big game. The strip sack late in the game basically iced it completely. And by the way, against, I'm a Morgan Moses guy. I'm a Cornelius Lucas guy. He's the Morgan Moses of swing tackles. Right. The older and more swing tackler, the best. The more you like him. I might be out on Cornelius Lucas. Like, next year at this time, I might have a GM job at the NFL, and I might need to bounce from my Cornelius Lucas. But this is the type, this is the assignment that those guys can't handle. I know, but it's multiple weeks, though. I mean, he was the best swing tackle in the NFL for a couple of years. But the best swing tackle in the NFL can't block Aiden Hutchinson or Myles Garrett or one of those guys. Like, this is the level of assignment where you're like, this is a bridge too far for that guy. Yeah, it's not great. Not great. I thought Hutch went down for a minute, hurt his knee. This was right when Malik Neighbors went down. It was like, oh, man, everybody's getting hurt. But then he was back. He was fine. And he looked good once again. Lions pass rush has been fierce for a couple weeks here. And that's with lesser names, so to speak, right? Different players stepping up opposite Hutch, which is good to see for Detroit's defense. Alex Anzalone has been getting a ton of pressure. Like, they're using him as an add-on, rusher, as a blitzer, as a guy that, you spy Lamar Jackson, you don't spy Joe Flacco, but like, he's got this pretty good feel for when to fire, even if it's not necessarily drawn up that he's a blitzer on the play. You know what I mean? Yeah. Jacob, what are you talking? We get some doubters in the chat that I'm going to be an NFL GM a year from now. I can't see why you wouldn't be at this point. I almost got the Jets job last year. I had my interview right here on the show. I didn't even get an interview. No. Anyway, anything else? What was that? Was the first Joe Flacco interception. He just threw it up to nobody. What was that? I don't know. It was like a punt. It was like a coffin corner punt. Only there was no receiver anywhere near it, and Kirby Joseph was just able to fair catch it almost. Yeah. Second one was tough. The receiver fell down. I'd have to go back and see the timing on it, because a lot of times you're just throwing, expecting the receiver on the break, and if it falls down, you're in trouble. The first one, it's like, I don't even know what the hell that was. But yeah, if you're the Browns trying to pull this upset every week, it's a 9.5, 10-point game line. Every week, I always say, if you're the team trying to pull the upset, how are you going to do it? Well, you can't throw 2 picks and give up a punt return for a touchdown. Those things aren't gonna fly. We did see Dylan Gabriel late in the game for the Browns. It's not the best situation, I don't think, as far as the pass catchers are okay. You're getting a little bit more from rookie running back Quinshon Judkins. I'm worried about this offensive line. Do we see Dylan Gabriel at any time soon here? Look, every game they are asking the Browns now about, so when are you going to make a quarterback change? This is just about how long they think they can string that out before they have to pitch it over to one of the rookies both of the rookies. I'm asking my question. Effectively, you've got to. They're going to play both of them at some point this season. We are less. What was your percentage? What percent of the way through the season are we? So I got it now. 4 for 7. It's 23.5%. It was early in the morning. It's 23.5% of the way through the season. So we are only 23.5% of the way through the season. Yes. And so that means you've got to get the rest of the season. Next week we'll be 29.4% of the way through the season. Maybe you're a little bit closer. Right. That means you've got to get over 75% of the season with those 2 rookie quarterbacks, right? That's a long time to have to struggle through 2 guys that may be awful. Now, maybe they're good. Maybe Dylan Gabriel comes in, he's the answer. That would be great. But if they're not, and as 3rd and 5th round draft picks, the chances are they're not. If they are, in fact, not good quarterbacks, that's a long time to have to go through with that level of, bad. String Flacco out as long as you can. That's it. I think they're genuinely just going to be like, we string this out until we have no choice but to get rid of old man Flacco and pitch it over to the kids, and then we get through the rest of the season with that.
It is kind of interesting to me that the second Quinshon Judkins got on this team, they've gone from like, mix it around a bit to just he's the bell cow. He's getting every snap possible. Occasionally he might be winded and we'll take him out and Dylan Sampson will get a run. But like it's gone from committee backfield to bell cow backfield in a flip of a switch.
I loved him at running on the goal line, had a nice little 1-yard touchdown in there. He might help a little bit. I think there's something to build around with the Browns.
They're really leaning into those rookies. I mean, you've got Judkins, who's their bell cow now. Harold Fannin has been a huge part of this offense for a team that already has David Njoku as a legitimate first round and athletic receiving tight end. Isaiah Bond, remember they ended up getting him late as well. He got a couple
nice plays in there.
Couple nice plays, a ton of targets in this game as well. So I mean, that's 3 rookies right
away.
away.
Carson Schwechinger's playing great.
He's been, the green dot guy on defense, and you're waiting on rookie quarterbacks coming to the lineup
and
as
you
well.
have 2 first-round picks next year. Offensive line just they've hit a wall these last couple of years of aging and just not playing well and some injuries. But I think the Browns are moving in the right direction for a 1-3 team.
Yeah. I will say it's been, a relative lack of impact from Mason Graham, who we were high hopes from, the top draft pick.
Yeah,
but
ESPN had him a 45% win rate last week.
So. That's true, they did. Other sources did not. Who knows who was right or who's not. But generally, I think, it's 23.5% of the season. It's very early. But
you're the best.
You would have hoped, I think, to see more from Mason Graham at this point.
Appreciate you using my percentages. All right, let's go New England Patriots.
I have no earthly idea whether you're right or not, but I'm willing to roll with it.
No, it is. 42-13, New England Patriots over the Carolina Panthers. Patriots move to 2-2. Panthers fall to 1-3. Panthers got up to a 6-0 lead, had their field goal blocked, their extra point. Bryce Young to Tommy Tremble. Then the Patriots scored the next 42 points in this one, including Marcus Jones, punt return for a touchdown, and another long punt return.
A second one. Almost. The punter got him. He must be so pissed off.
Yeah, but it was like so much work. Like you're just exhausted. You're cutting. It wasn't the punter got him. It was, the punter got him. But,
I'm just saying, you don't, when you're in.
He was in a difficult position after avoiding the non-punters.
You're right. Yes. But when you're Monday evaluating the play, you're going to be really upset that the punter got you.
I know we talked about this briefly, but there's always a couple games back through the season you look back at like this isn't in line with other performances. The 2 that come to mind right now would be the Jets week 1 against the Steelers, almost pulling that off and having the best Jets looking like the best offense in week 1, and then the Panthers 30-0 over the Falcons last week because the Panthers
makes no sense from either side's perspective.
The Panthers have played that one good game, and then maybe like the second half against Arizona back in week 2. Other than that, they have not looked great. And I don't know, Bryce Young, is he calibrated to average 5 yards per attempt? Because that's exactly where he landed in this game.
Calibrated to have 5 yards per attempt and like 165 yards.
No matter what happens.
Right.
Whether it's through drops or misses or whatever it might be. Anyway, Patriots, pretty clean, efficient game. And Drake May's playing good football right now. They didn't need him a lot from a pass game perspective. 14 of 17 for 203, 2 touchdowns, ran for another one. I think he's making good decisions with the ball. I think he's completing like 73, 74% of his passes for a guy that had these accuracy issues coming out, missing the easy stuff.
There was some stat that he's like, it's something like
I saw that,
completed 75% of his passes with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions, or something like that is the combination that you need for this number. And I think he already leads he's got 4 of them.
He has 3 straight games of that. The only person with more in a row is Brady.
Yes,
in
that's
07.
it. And the next people on the list are like Peyton Manning and blah blah blah.
Yeah, it's a good start for May. Again, I'm going through the film here, and 2 things are true. Again, Patriots doing a really nice job working in the middle of the field. They got Stephon Diggs on these over routes, wide open a couple times. May actually missed 2 open throws as well. Like he could have easily been 16 for 17 passing for even better numbers. But Diggs on the over routes, like work in the middle of the field. That's what I loved about Drake May coming out at UNC. I thought they leaned into that pretty well in this game and last week in New England. And then the other thing that's true, again, the linebackers in Carolina, maybe the worst linebacking group in the NFL. They've been exploited in 3 out of 4 games pretty badly here so far. But I thought New England did a nice job working in the middle of the field with the pass game.
Yeah.
They stuck with the fumblers.
Yeah.
Running the ball, Ramondre Stevenson.
We saw a little bit more of Henderson this game. But
We
they
did.
It wasn't like Henderson's going to come in because Ramondre can't be trusted anymore. It's like, nah, he's still going to play and still going to get done.
They used Antonio Gibson well on jet sweeps. Ramondre had a 22-yarder that helped set up a score. They used Travion Henderson in the red zone with a 5-yard touchdown. Good job. So I thought they did a nice job spreading the work around for those running backs. They're good running backs.
Right.
When they're not fumbling.
And Vrabel said that. He's like, look,
Yeah.
he's not going in the doghouse. Like, he's still an important part of this offense. We need him still, basically.
And then, I just thought the Patriots offense, Drake May playing really efficient, had another running touchdown in there. So he's picking his spots, when to scramble, when to run, making good decisions with the football. So I think May's playing really good ball. Had a couple mishaps last week against the Steelers, but overall he's been pretty nice.
Yeah, he looked really good in this game. I mean, we said before, look, if his critical flaw as a quarterback up until this point had been the one or two really bad mistakes per game, and if you just get those out of him, I mean, he's immediately a very good quarterback, independent of what the receiving core and the offensive line looks like. Well, the Panthers are the type of team where it doesn't really matter what your receiving core, your offensive line looks like. You're probably going to do okay against them. And then if your quarterback also doesn't really make any mistakes with the ball, well, now you're going to put up a lot of points. Then you add on punt return touchdowns to the equation, and like everything's great. And that's what this was.
The other couple plays that stood out was 35-6. It was still a blowout, but Patriots go on 4th and 3. May hits Stephon Diggs on a back shoulder down the field for a big play. And then Mac Hollins again, middle of the field, wide open for a 4-yard touchdown. So pretty dominant performance from New England. Milton Williams, I don't know if he ended up on the stat sheet with anything, but he had a quick pressure that forced Bryce Young to spin out into someone else's, someone else picked up the sack there on that play.
The Milton Williams Bowl.
The Milton Williams Bowl, the last two teams battling to pay him $26 million a year. New England's pass rush has been much improved this year, and I think Milton Williams is a big part of that.
Yeah, he was reasonably quiet in this game, but Christian Barmore had a really big game from the interior more. The Patriots did get a decent chunk of pressure, but it was sort of dispersed throughout the defense.
Carolina-wise, I mean, inconsistent offense. They look good early on. Beautiful pass, Bryce Young to Tommy Tremble for the first touchdown. They are trying to feed Teterow and McMillan. There's a couple misses and connections. Like, I still really love McMillan, but they need help. They've got injuries at receiver.
They need to get Jalen Coker back at some point. Teterow and McMillan is basically their only receiving threat at the moment. I don't know if it's going to be enough even with Jalen Coker, but at least with Coker, you're like, okay, there's somewhere else to go with the football for the moment. If they don't have him in the lineup, it's like it's McMillan. If a team wants to take him away or really throw some coverage in his direction, they don't trust anybody else to win more than 5 yards down the field. Like Xavier Legette wasn't playing in this game, I don't think. Even when he's been playing, he's been a non-factor. Hunter Renfrow is a specific type of, receiver in a group that if you need anything more than that, it's not going to be there. You traded away Adam Thielen. Like, they just don't have it without Jalen Coker. And even him, you're talking undrafted second-year player that was a surprise package as a rookie and then gets hurt with a hamstring injury that was bad enough to land him on IR for a while. So that could take a while.
All right, man, a couple more 1 o'clock games. We've got the Houston Texans 26, Titans 0. Texans with their first win of the season.
Yeah.
1-3, Titans 0-4 here. 23.5% of the way through the season.
This was one where, we see the injury report or the late news that comes in, who's playing, who's not. This was one where when the news came out that Dan Moore had been added to the injury report with an illness, I was like, you know what? The Titans aren't covering this. I'm going back to Houston. And for a while, that looked iffy. It was kind of close.
And Moore played through his illness.
I know.
But
it was like, yeah, you know what? That's going to be rough. And it was close for a while, and then, Houston are just, even with their terrible offensive line, they're just much better.
The Titans, it was 6-0 for a while, 12-0 for a while. Texans pulled away.
It was a grind, but they eventually outclassed them.
A couple of key plays there, because I thought C.J. Stroud looked much better, made a couple, two of the big-time throws here. It was 2nd and 33. And he hits Nico Collins for a 37-yarder on 2nd and 33 against L'Jarius Sneed, who I've been picking on a little bit because
he looks cooked.
Yeah, like it's weird because like when he's not targeted, right? I mean, I know it's easy to just look at targets. Like when he's not targeted, it's not like he's getting whooped and people are missing it. It's when he's targeted, it's bad, man. Like it's 2nd and 33. He's in press and Nico just runs right by him.
Yeah.
And it's a great throw by Stroud, but Nico Collins has 2 steps on him, and there were some rough reps.
That was so easy that I'm like looking for him limping. Well, like during the route, I'm like, how is he that far off a guy just running past you?
Well, then ironically, later in the game, the final or the second to last touchdown, I think it made it 19-0. Stroud to Jaden Higgins, who I've been calling for more Higgins.
Yep.
He runs right by the corner, who happened to be Amani Hooker, who's a safety, which makes a little bit more sense, right? You've got a pretty athletic 6'3" receiver, runs right by Amani Hooker. He got 2 steps on him. Stroud hit him with the touchdown. Still want to see more Higgins in this offense. That was his only target. Goes for a 24-yard touchdown. Point is, those 2 were just way too easy for Titans defense that I thought was keeping a minute, but a couple easy big completions there. The Nico 2nd and 33 led to Stroud to Woody Marks, 12-yard touchdown in the flat. Woody had an 18-yard touchdown run and the 12-yard catch, 4 catches for 50 yards for Woody Marks, who, they drafted in the middle rounds last year, traded up to get him, and they leaned on him a little bit in this game.
Yeah, I mean, he was the leading rusher in not just yardage, but carries as well. I mean, they're giving him the ball.
So, yeah, Texans offense, like it wasn't pretty for much of the game, but they did make some big plays. And then the Titans offense, like another game where Cam Ward has a 33-yarder early. Like it seems like there's a lot of there's like a comfort level early in the game for Cam Ward, but the longer the game goes, it just falls apart. He had a 33-yarder early. That was 33 out of his 108 yards. And it was a pretty nice little scramble drill play to Io Manor. But he finishes 10 of 26 for 108 and a pick in there, which was off inaccurate throw that got tipped up. So another ugly one for the Titans offense. And as you said, like it's really tough with offensive line injuries and illnesses.
Yeah,
trying to block this Texans front.
And just, not being very good.
That too.
Did you see the insta sack that Jeffrey Simmons had?
Yes.
Did you see the kind of the explanation / context for that? Because it's another one where it's
it was a hilarious
the
sack.
Texans offensive line departs and a guy runs right up the middle, and he basically sacks C.J. Stroud halfway through his drop. Like his back is turned to the play, and he's like Jeffrey Simmons is jumping on his back essentially like a backpack. And it's like, well, that obviously is a breakdown in blocking. Like that's not supposed to happen. And so you go, wow, what is the offensive line doing? Like that's ridiculous. But obviously, like somebody has screwed up that as a called protection. Like that's a goof. And somebody was saying, like, if you watch that play, CJ Stroud is like audibling with like 7 seconds left on the clock. And then the offensive line is still sort of trying to adjust with like 2-3 seconds on the clock. And Stroud's like, come on, let's go. And then they snap the ball and he's like immediately buried by the guy. It's like, they made a lot in this offseason about, well, now Stroud's got all that responsibility. And this is a good thing because, previously he'd been shackled and he just had to do whatever the call was from the sideline. It's like, this is the play, run the play. Now C.J. Stroud gets to work at the line, like a real quarterback, like Peyton Manning, and just go, hey, Omaha, make his calls, right? Adjust things as he sees fit. It's not, there's multiple plays now this season where there have been immediate goofs from that perspective, like setting things up in the first place. That have not gone well.
It doesn't matter in a game like this because the defense is just overwhelming the Titans, but it matters if you're going to be competitive. It matters in big games.
But also, it matters because that's supposed to be a value add, right? That's supposed to be a thing that's there now that wasn't there before, right? This was something that was limiting C.J. Stroud previously. Now that he's got this responsibility, he can be even better than he's been in the past, and I don't think it's working out that way yet.
More Titans watch. There's maybe phasing Calvin Ridley out a little bit. I just keep an eye on everybody in the Titans getting traded.
It's certainly,
Arden Key had a sack in there. I've mentioned Arden Key. I've mentioned L'Jarius Sneed, Calvin Ridley. You could see the Titans. Tyler Lockett played a bunch in this game. I was at camp. I try not to talk too much about camp. He didn't look like he fit the offense the way they were using him as this like slot jet sweep guy. It's like he doesn't fit. and he might be done. There's a lot of veterans on this team.
Look, the only guy
who are not going to be a part of the future here with the Titans, who just keep an eye out heading into the trade deadline.
The only guy that Cam Ward seems to have any rapport with whatsoever is fellow rookie Io Maynor.
Yeah, and I think it's an offseason where they're going to bring in 2 or 3 new receivers. They'll have some offensive line questions at 1 or 2 spots, and they got to get Cam Ward comfortable. I mean, it's not looking great right now, and even though it wasn't supposed to look great, you want to have some semblance of positivity for the last 3 quarters of the season here, and it's not going good for this offense.
Cedric Gray apparently had 17 tackles in this game.
Really?
That's quite impressive.
That is good. Never look at tackle totals, but it's nice when it's 17.
It's a lot.
Good.
I mean, nobody on the Texans, I think, had more than like 6.
Yeah, it's because the Titans didn't complete any passes.
Sure.
All right, I got no more use for this game. Buffalo Bills remain undefeated with the win over the Saints. Saints made it close, man. They hung tough. 31-19. Bills get the win. Do not cover.
Yeah.
Against the Saints.
Not even close, right? It was like 17 points or something. The spread was huge.
16. It was a big number. Bills got up early, 7-0. Saints kept fighting, man. They kept fighting. Really nice touchdown run from Kendre Miller to make it 7-7. It was 21-10, right? Every time, I talk about this all the time. Every time the favorite's starting to pull away, but the Saints hung tough, man. They hung tough. Scored a touchdown late in the third quarter to make it 21-16. There were some key plays in this game, but eventually the Bills pulled away to get the win. But I thought it was impressive for the Saints to hang in there. We'll talk about some of the key plays here in a second, but what were your initial thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think New Orleans' defense is still kind of rough, and I think that was the bigger issue during the course of this game. But their offense is legitimately not bad. Like, Spencer Rattler's been pretty impressive, especially relative to expectations heading into the year. And then they do have weaponry. I mean, Alvin Kamara is still really good. It felt like he was a guy that was reaching that point in his career with a couple of injuries where you're like, he's hit the the cliff age of running backs. I mean, you sort of forget that he was in the same draft class as Christian McCaffrey, who's still supposed to be like RB1, league-wide, like fantasy leader type of thing. I mean, Alvin Kamara is theoretically in the same bucket. Kendre Miller looked like Alvin Kamara from earlier in his career in this game.
Great.
Was running the ball extremely well. They've got Rashid Shaheed, Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson. Like, Brandon Cooks almost had an amazing catch in the end zone. Like, there is weaponry to work with here. And if the offensive line is able to hold up, Rattler's playing pretty well.
Stroud just missed Cook on that play, right?
It was behind him. It would have been a spectacular catch that
was wide open.
Ended up touching the ground in the course of it.
That was one of those when I'm watching all the games, I just saw the play, thought it was a touchdown, and then looked up a couple of minutes later. I was like, oh, it's still 21-19 or whatever it was at the time. And
it's one of those
ones
that
settle for a field goal. That the Saints were ready to take the lead in the second half with that play.
It's one of those ones that if you don't have instant replay, we just call it a touchdown and move on.
Yeah.
But we have instant replay. It's like, look, that kind of touched the ground. Going to take that away.
Replay had an interesting weekend starting Friday night, Florida State, Virginia. There was a play. Guy bobbled it where I feel like if you watched it in fast motion, you would just call it a touchdown. Yeah. But in slow motion, like, is it possession if you're just resetting the ball in your hands? Like, is that moving?
I don't like those.
You would have hated I don't know if you saw the Florida State one.
No. I feel like for those things.
But you would have called that a touchdown, I think, the Florida State one. Because the guy was just resetting it in his hands while he was falling out of bounds.
I don't think that's losing possession or affecting. My thing is, I think we should use super slow-mo for black and white things where we actually can frame by frame it. Like, did this thing touch inbounds before whatever? Like, you can identify that by going super slow-mo play by play in 4K, and we can get a black and white definitive yes or no, right? I think for things like did he have possession, you should only be able to run at full speed or like 0.75 speed. You can slow it down a tick just so you can see it, but like if you slow it down to super slow-mo, you no longer could, like, you can't determine at like 0.01 speed when possession began, right? That's absurd. You also can't, just because it's moving doesn't mean it's out of your possession now. Like, you can readjust the ball without it, like, I'm no longer in possession of this because it's moving in my hand. Like, no, it's still in my possession. I'm just readjusting it. I hate that.
Knew I'd get you fired up here.
But I can go on a further one in that game. That was the game with the field storming, right?
Yes.
Did you see the kid that ran in with? He ran out with the middle finger and his phone to like run up to a player like
Awful.
I am starting to hate people. Crowds. That like
I've known you about 15 years now.
Between that and the Ryder Cup, by the way, between that and the Ryder Cup, where it's just like, why have we normalized hurling abuse at people just for being sportsmen? Like, you're playing a game, okay, you're well compensated for playing that game, but why does that mean that coming along with that, we get to just hurl abuse at you?
You had no problem when the guy had his 9-year-old calling me Big Goofy in Iowa.
That was funny. That's different.
That's abuse.
Not really. That's funny.
The drunk guy calling me Oates from Hall & Oates, just screaming at me for 7 straight innings. That's all good. You don't care?
That's also kind of funny. I think it's when
you draw the line. Oates and Big Goofy are fine, but, once we get into, a picture.
Those are like,
once we get into a selfie, that's crossing the line.
Those are like movie, when you, like, what's the lowest level of, is it G or U or something? Like the ones for the kids, right?
G?
Yeah. Like, that's a movie rating G. That's okay, right? Once you get into, R-rated stuff, then I think we've crossed a line that we shouldn't normalize. So, like, when you're running up with a phone and just flipping the bird at a guy who was just playing a football game, I think that's out of order.
The field storming was ridiculous.
Yeah.
The players need to be protected. They ended up okay, but
right.
From a distance, it looked like the receiver that was targeted on the last play was
like the
how
Ryder
did this
Cup
guy not
thing.
get trampled?
Like the Ryder Cup thing, like comedy abuse, like the one I sent the video clip of, like before the tournament even started, where Rory's like doing up his polo shirt and someone's like, you don't need a button to choke, Rory. And everyone was like, that's pretty good. Even Rory, right? Rory McIlroy's like, you know what? That's actually pretty well done, right? Everyone has a laugh. That's banter, right?
Funny jokes. They're
when
good.
people are just hurling abuse at the guy all the way through his round, like lobbing drinks at his wife and saying something that made Shane Lowry have to be like restrained by his caddy.
That's bad.
Stop. Like, if you're that guy, like, what are you doing? This is just a golf game. Stop it. Stop being scumbags. That's all I'm saying.
I have a general theory that adults shouldn't yell at other adults overall. I mean, obviously, they do way worse things to each other. I'm just saying, like, most people in society, like, you just don't need to be screaming at each other. Maybe a coach-player relationship, it's okay, but, like, in sporting settings and, like, real life, it's like
soccer did this years ago, where we just normalized like a wall of people flipping the bird and screaming like swear words at people just for like lining up and taking a corner. I was like, why? Stop that. That's not okay. That shouldn't be part of the gig.
Talk about the game, Sam.
What game we talking about?
We got to talk about the Philly special interception.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about
what a snag by Cole Bishop.
What a play. I mean, Cole Bishop, a guy that I don't think he's always in the right position in coverage.
He is athletic, though.
He's extremely athletic. That was one of those, like, the draft community, it's like super athletic safety that's, not always seeing the game the way he needs to. But the athleticism, he saw this play, and then what a one-handed interception. The Philly special just before the half, I believe, right? And Cole Bishop reads it and picks it off. It was one of the plays of the game.
Yeah.
That, look, ultimately the Bills are just a much better team. And when it comes down to it, there's a big Josh Allen scramble. Like, you're just better than the other team. Yeah. And then Dalton Kincaid's wide open for a 28-yarder. You have Khalil Shakir running through the defense on a 43-yard screen. There's some big plays that are the Bills made.
Yeah.
But this was a big one that the Saints had life as the underdogs, and Cole Bishop, what an interception on that play.
Yeah, they had a few plays that kind of, if they'd gone the other way, this would have been a real nervy one for Buffalo. Like that Khalil Shakir, we talked about Demario Davis leading the league still, despite his advanced age in defensive stops. Well, that was a defensive stop he had in his hands, and sort of tried to toss Khalil Shakir to the ground, only he didn't actually get him off balance enough, and Shakir sort of spun in a circle and kept going and scores a touchdown on the play instead. They did manage to stuff Khalil Shakir, kind of short, fourth and whatever play, got the turnover on downs. Like, they had opportunities in this game, but didn't make enough of those high-leverage plays.
That was a 4th and 2 right around midfield, the little shovel pass, and those Saints played it well. I'll just say, like, I'm talking a lot about in between the 40s, 4th downs. If you make stops on those plays, right? If you're the underdog making stops on those plays, that's what's giving yourself a chance. The Saints, that was when they were down 21-16, and then they missed Cooks in the end zone, had to settle for the field goal.
So that would have been
that was the game flow where all of a sudden it's like the Saints make that key 4th down stop, had a chance to take the lead, missed it.
Yeah.
You just can't miss those opportunities.
It's like you draw up this game, there's like 5 really important high leverage plays, and 4 of them went Buffalo's way. like that. If that had flipped, if it was 4 New Orleans, 1 for Buffalo, we might have been talking about a shock result, shock upset in this game.
All right, we got 4 4:00 games, and of course, whatever happened in Sunday Night Football that we could probably talk about for an hour. But first, got to tell you about our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates, so they've created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. Traditional car insurance companies focus on demographics like age, zip code, occupation, and credit score to price your coverage. When Root offers a rate, your behavior behind the wheel gets more weight than any other single factor. They don't use occupation or education level to negatively affect your rate. So while you drive, Root gathers and analyzes data from your smartphone sensors, and after a few weeks, you'll get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving. You save up to 44% off your initial Root quote after you take the test drive. If you need a tow truck, jump start, or lock your keys in your car, Root will cover the help you need to get back on the road when you opt into roadside assistance. The Root app makes it easy to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just 3 minutes. You can get started today at Root.com. Jacksonville Jaguars move to 3-1. 49ers fall to 3-1. It was 26-21. The Jags get the victory. Let's start with this because we've got plenty of time. Who cares? We weren't privy. It was Friday press conferences when the sign stealing discussion came out with Robert Saleh talking about Niners. So 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh describing a very intricate legal sign stealing operation from the Jacksonville Jaguars and Liam Cohen, and essentially the Sean McVay tree that they do a really good job of picking up tells. Which if we just change the word stealing and called it,
what is the distinction?
Tells.
Like there's because obviously Spygate is illegal, sign stealing / recording is legal. Where's the line?
It's only where you record from.
Okay.
You can steal. You could pick up signals and
from
signs.
The stadium is cool. From practice when you're not supposed to be there,
not that.
Cool.
No, that wasn't Spygate. It was like where they had cameras in the stadium. They had cameras in the stadium at certain points where you're not allowed to, I think.
Okay.
But you can pick up signs now, like Michigan, you're not allowed to, be on Central Michigan sideline, or you're not allowed to buy tickets to the game and record from the stands. Like there's places where you're not allowed to.
It's one of those distinctions that I find very hard to care about.
The point is, it was probably much ado about nothing. So Saleh's saying they do a really good job. And what he's suggesting is they use all the information possible legally to know what he was talking about hand signals.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about on defense, it's not the hand signals to get the play in. It's when there's a motion.
Right.
Right. What is Fred Warner communicating to the nickel what the coverage is? And if you start to stitch that together between all 22 and especially on broadcast when you start to hear it, and you could pick up tells and know what the coverage is. So that's what Robert Saleh was saying. And it was like, I don't know if it was a little gamesmanship on his part to be like, hey, I know you're doing this. I know it's legal. Congrats. But we know you're doing this, and just like put some doubt into his mind. We might change our signals. We might not, So there was gamesmanship. And then after the game, Liam and Saleh got into it a little bit.
Well, yeah, Liam went up to him and was like, keep my name out your mouth.
That's what the kids say when they don't want you to talk about it.
It is. He seemed to sort of walk past him first and then come back at him. He's like, oh, yeah, I remember I'm pissed off at that guy, and started yelling at him and had to be like restrained by his own players and stuff. But it seemed like one of those ones where it's like, hold me back, quick, because if I get into it with Saleh, I'm getting my ass kicked. That whole conversation previously about like which head coach wins in a cage match type of thing. I mean, Saleh's not a head coach anymore, but in a cage match, my money's only going in one direction.
Did you post the picture of Saleh?
Yeah, jacked out of his gourd.
Completely jacked. Yeah. Liam feels like we got to get back to like the Royal Rumble 32 head coach rankings.
This is what I'm saying.
Like Saleh and Vrabel, are they in the finals?
Dan Campbell.
Saleh's not head coach anymore.
Right.
But
Saleh would be high in the rankings.
Vrabel.
Dan Campbell would be pretty high there. I'm just saying the only way Liam Cohen is surviving past the first round of that fight is if his sign stealing has been so sophisticated that he knows exactly what's coming.
I got to do it. The baseball analogy. The statute of limitations is probably over here. But in high school, we had a pretty elaborate
Sign stealing, huh?
sign.
This is calling into question your Hall of Fame status.
I don't think it is.
Tell me you're just a product of sign stealing?
This is why we're in the Hall of Fame, because we were so good at this. Listen, if you're the catcher and you're just going to show us what pitch is coming, if you're not going to hide it from the first base coach, if you're not going to hide it from the guy at second base, we might be communicating to the hitter when a curveball's coming. Okay, big guy? Okay? And we had our own little system. And so maybe I knew when a curveball was coming every now and again. Maybe we definitely knew the opposing coach's steal signs. Our coach was a genius. He was like, back in 82, this is the steal sign. Let's look for it. And then he changed it in 97. And so we knew when they were going to steal. So you pitch out, you throw them out. We may have known. We may have known. Coach's been retired for a decade now, so we're not giving anything away. But it's all legal.
Yeah.
Sign tipping. It was all legal stuff. Anyway, felt like a classic Jags game. They have 4 takeaways again, including Dennis, the Barbarian, Gardeck, with a forced fumble.
Peanut punch.
For the Jags.
Well, this was a game of peanut punches. You had Dennis, the Barbarian, getting his turnover. Travis Etienne houses it right after a 48-yard touchdown. He had a big game again, explosive. Big plays here or there. Fred Warner is now up to 18 career forced fumbles with his for the 49ers, which is a new team record. He passed Patrick Willis for all-time leader in 49ers forced fumbles now.
What a run of linebackers they've had.
Fred Warner also, did you see right at the end? Jags are taking knees. They've won the game, right? Trevor Lawrence does the whole, I'm going to take a slightly slow knee, to really bleed the clock. Like, steps back, and Fred Warner's like, oh, you're going to try that. I am going to leap over the pile and try and force the ball out before you've even put your knee down. Injuring
people.
He came pretty close to doing that. Yeah. Like, the punch was accurate, and Trevor Lawrence, credit to him, had a strong enough grip that, it didn't knock it out. But can you imagine? Those are the 2 plays I now want to see more than anything else. Fred Warner leaping the line to force a fumble on a kneel down, and Jalen Carter diving under the center's legs to intercept the spike. I want to see both of those plays succeed at some point.
I needed intercepted spike, which would get overturned when they're like, oh, no, the ball went in
touched
between
the ground.
Hands.
Yeah, on super slow-mo replay, it turns out. Right, it turns out this actually contacted the ground at some point, so we're going to take away one of the coolest plays in NFL history.
This felt like every other Jags game this year. Defense forcing turnovers. Travis Etienne with a long run, had a 48-yard touchdown run in there, and under 200 yards passing from Trevor Lawrence. This is the Jags this year. They moved to 3-1. The defense, 13 takeaways, leads the NFL. What is it? The 4th straight game with at least 3. So all 3 games they've had at least 3. On one hand, it has been impressive, like the way they've been able to create havoc up front, the pressure that they've been able to create. Eric Armstead with a key sack in this game, in the revenge game. That's impressive. It also feels like, man, that's tough. That's unsustainable. Did they have 9 turnovers all of last year, and they already have 13?
Yeah, there was a stat where they had, in week 2 or something, they already had more interceptions than they had all of last year.
That's where it's really tough from an analysis perspective, because I'm like, I want to give credit to this thing. I also know that's going to be really tough to have 3 or 4 takeaways every single week. It's also tough to have another punt return for a touchdown, but that's what Parker Washington did, 87-yard punt return for a touchdown. That was as the Jags had this not in hand, but they were leading 14-3, 17-6. They get it to within 3, and then the Jags are up 20-14, and then the 87-yard punt return to make it a 2-score game late in the third quarter. So the Niners kept fighting to get back into it, but Jags hold on to get the win.
Yeah. Trent Williams had as many problems in this game as he's had in any game I can remember in a long time with Josh Hines-Allen, who, again, he's in that category of maybe he's not quite Defensive Player of the Year in any given season, but he's right behind that group. If you're good enough to cause even this aged version of Trent Williams those kinds of problems, you're really, really good.
Devin Lloyd, there was some stat from Next Gen Stats adding something like 50% win probability on his plays. He had 2 interceptions. One was him being in position, thrown right to him. Another one on a tipped pass. Also had a key pressure on the Brock Purdy sack. That's was pretty impact play in this game. Brock Purdy made his return, come back from the turf toe. So he played in week 1, missed 2 and 3, and he's back. So not to overrate just 2 games of Brock Purdy, something's going on in the middle of the field, man, with Brock Purdy, just not seeing the middle of the field. This is the 3rd interception, I believe. Not just like dead smack, middle of the field, intermediate level. He also, in the first interception, so he has 3 thrown like right to defenders in the middle of the field. The other interception was just he has McCaffrey up the seam and overthrows him a little bit, gets tipped up, and it's picked. I know we've thrown the hospital ball word around for Trevor Lawrence on the other side. Purdy is late and blind over the middle. Quite a throwing blind and late over the middle right now, and high and just.
You don't want to be throwing blind.
You know what? With your eyes closed.
Yeah, it's a bad thing.
He's throwing generally. Blind. I mean, he's like a short quarterback stereotype right now, where the middle of the field is just like a prayer.
Right.
And there's just some bad decisions there. I mean, you take those away, he did some stuff, right? I mean, Kendrick Bourne had a big drop up the seam. Like, it's difficult with this group of playmakers, but the turnovers in the middle of the field have been rough.
It's 2 games now, albeit separated by injury, where it sort of – I mean, the first one I was kind of projecting and saying, like, it sort of feels like a guy who's trying to justify, oh, I got paid now. I'm getting paid this crazy amount of money. I need to go out there and show that I'm worth it. And whether it's that or if it's just he's pressing generally – knowing they need him more, knowing that they don't have this crazy array of weaponry because half of them are hurt, and whatever it is, the 2 games have been very similar in terms of he's still making the sort of the Brock Purdy good plays that are why he got paid in the first place, and they all look kind of the same, right? Which is the play's sort of dead, it's a busted play, Brock Purdy's extending and then finds a miracle, in the end zone somewhere, and whether it's a lob to a tight end nobody's ever heard of for a touchdown, or whether it's back across his body to receiver for a 2-point conversion, Jennings, like they all look kind of the same, and those are a really important part of Brock Purdy's resume and why they do think he's worth that money. But now there's these negative plays in there that weren't necessarily there when he was playing, really good football, and those are definitely problematic. And if it's just a case of he's got less help now, then when those guys come back, you would imagine those go away. If it's now that he feels like if it's something else, they need to identify what that is and figure out a way of getting it to stop, because, you can't have those negative plays and be like Brock Purdy isn't that good. Whatever about how good is he, does he deserve the money, blah, blah, blah. He's not good enough to have those plays as well as what's going on.
A couple others. So, yeah, I think Brock Purdy's good. Just even when he was at his best, had some blips in the middle of the field. Yeah. That late game collapse against Minnesota a couple years ago, just something to keep an eye on for Purdy, who I still think is very good. Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence did not get hit, so the pass rush watch without Nick Bosa.
I believe, the pass rush without Nick Bosa, I believe that as an entire defense, the 49ers had 1 pressure in this game. That's crazy.
So great pass protection from the Jags, and then if you were concerned about Nick Bosa and the residual effect of losing your alpha rusher and how that affects Bryce Huff, Michael Williams, Alfred Collins, and the rest of the defensive line, not a great start for that.
No. And look, Trevor Lawrence got rid of the ball reasonably quickly, but not he didn't have the 2-second flat average time to throw that Aaron Rodgers had this week. That is a massive concern for this 49ers defense. Like the first game without Nick Bosa, how do people step up? Do we still get pressure? Nothing.
Yeah. Other thing I wanted to mention, Travis Hunter had a 28-yard catch.
Great catch.
Would that have been overturned with a better view? Did they look at that? I couldn't tell.
Good.
That was a nice catch up the seam, though, for Travis Hunter.
We're back to, people got healthy, so he barely played on defense again.
Yeah.
Like 9 snaps or something.
And so the Jags, look, they're sitting here at 3-1. Defense is fierce right now. Playing the Chiefs next week, Monday Night Football in Jacksonville. I think it's going to be bumping in Duval. Bumping. Monday night. Yeah, man. Monday Night Football in Jacksonville. Week 5, a lot like Fred Taylor, 98, Jags.
Of course.
Week 5 against the Dolphins. Get ready next week. Anything else on this one?
Nope.
Is it Baltimore, Kansas City next? No. Colts, Rams. I'm out of order here. I'm out of order. Rams get the win. First loss for the Colts, 27-20. Rams move to 3-1. Colts fall to 3-1. It was Tutu Atwell, 88-yard touchdown for the game winner, where apparently the Colts had only 10 men on the field.
That would explain why he was so completely uncovered on an 88-yard touchdown.
It's very difficult to cover that. That was his only catch of the game. Stafford finishes 29 of 41 for 375, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Puka Nacua with 13 catches for 170, including 8 that were either a first down or a touchdown. Devontae Adams with 4 for 56, really well-rounded pass game for the Rams. And then on the other side, Daniel Jones, 2 picks, both to Cameron Curl, started and ended the game with interceptions to Cam Curl. But the story of this game is going to be the A.D. Mitchell game. He finishes with 3 catches for 96 yards, including a 75-yarder. So it must have gone well, Sam.
You would think.
But it did not.
Yeah. Turns out the only thing that can derail the Daniel Jones MVP case is throwing the ball to A.D. Mitchell. You know?
I mean, it helped the case because he had 96 yards on those 3 catches. However, one was fumbled out of the end zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was a holding call that negated a 50-plus yard touchdown run from Jonathan Taylor.
Yes. I think the first interception was also a target to A.D. Mitchell, where it's one of those ones where it's a risky, the safety's there. He's got a chance to make a play, but it's one of those ones where the wide receiver does not attack the ball at all. I'm going to wait for it to come to me, and if a guy happens to get there before or you get between me and the football, c'est la vie. It's on the quarterback at that point. If you're going to be A.D. Mitchell, you're a big, athletic, strong receiver, you can't fade away from that ball. You got to go get it, or at least contest and stop the safety from getting it. Instead, he doesn't, and it ends up being picked off. So that was why it's like, if you target A.D. Mitchell, you buyer beware, at your own risk.
This was Jalen Reagor through the years we've compared that to. Quentin Johnston until this year when he started catching the ball.
It is kind of amazing. I mean, the fumble at the goal line thing is maybe the most A.D. Mitchell play of all time. Like, it's not a good pass. I don't even know how he comes up with it. It's sort of inside and at the cornerback's leverage, and somehow A.D. Mitchell beats the guy to position to make the play, kind of one-hands it in, and then tosses him to the side and starts running down the sideline, beats more defenders to get down the sideline, toe taps, and you're like, this is a phenomenal touchdown. This is what we're talking about. This is why you attach yourself to this incredible physical specimen, even though, bad things tend to happen in and around when he's got the ball. And you're like, this is great. And then it's not even a Deshaun Jackson thing where he drops it before crossing the goal line for inexplicable reasons. This one, he's changing hands so that he can put the ball out and showboat and celebrate as he crosses the goal line, and in doing so loses the handle. And then realized immediately, tried to dive on it before it went out the back of the end zone, just didn't get there in time. And it's like that.
Switching hands to celebrate, Sam?
Yeah.
What is going on?
Right. And look, these things can happen to even fantastic, like Jonathan Taylor did the thing, right? The drop the ball before the goal line thing. And it was a big moment. He got rightly.
He learned from that. He didn't drop the ball.
He got rightly lambasted for it. And he's like, I'm never doing that again. That was a good learning point. Other sports, right? The great Brian O'Driscoll once went to put the ball down one-handed, as you do regularly, and it slipped out of his hand. And he's like, for the rest of my life now, I will be like 2 hands diving. I will never do that again, right? It can happen to the best of us, right? These things seem to happen a lot more, though, to A.D. Mitchell than other human beings.
And then the second play would have been a 53-yard touchdown. A.D. Mitchell goes to block the corner and just kind of grabs him, throws him down.
So you can argue that A.D. Mitchell individually took 14 points off the board for the Indianapolis offense. And that's independent of the interception that you can say maybe he should have done better there as well.
I mean, that one kind of goes both ways. Like if he just blocks the corner without tossing him to the floor, then it's probably the 53-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
There's also a chance he wouldn't have blocked him and, he gets in on the play. But what a run by Taylor, though. He looks so good. So that won't show up in the stats, but he still looks amazing.
Right.
So, yeah, it's the A.D. Mitchell game if you're a Colts fan.
It's just,
but you also have 10 men on the field on a Tutu Atwell 88-yarder.
Yeah.
Rams had a big 4th and 2 touchdown to Puka Nacua. It was 20-13. Rams get that touchdown to Puka. That dude is unbelievable.
By the way, right after that negated touchdown for Taylor, Jared Verse's strip sack is either 1 or 2 plays right after that. Again, it's like those swings of momentum. You could have had another touchdown go on the board. Instead, Jared Verse strip sack.
Both pass rushes looked pretty good. Colts were missing some offensive linemen, so that was a factor. And for the Colts, Latu, guy that we've watched closely, he's starting to look much, much better.
Finally.
I think first run of True Media had 9 pressures for him. Just looks twitchier. The full move set is working more for Latu. He got in on a sack too because he'd been winning but not necessarily getting to the quarterback these first couple weeks. Had an interception a couple weeks ago as well.
Yeah.
So Latu's playing some pretty good football for the Colts right now. So I think conclusion-wise, I mean, we're really talking about some extremely high leverage plays in here.
Yeah.
A.D. Mitchell taking a touchdown off the board or 2. Busted coverage, 88-yarder. I mean, high leverage plays. I think 2 good teams, though. So it's just the nature of the NFL, man. The Colts could easily be 2-2. They're 1 leverage play away from being 2-2, but the perception of them being 3-1 versus 2-2, I don't think it matters. Like they're a good team.
Yeah.
They're a good competitive team. And I know Colts fans could say, we're A.D. Mitchell away from being 4-0. So it goes both ways. But I think this, another week where, the Rams came off this competitive game against the Eagles, competitive game against the Colts. I think this was just 2 good teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the important part for the Colts, sure, you would have liked to win the game and blah, blah, blah. The more important part, though, is you went up against what everyone believes to be a very good team who were favored, and you could have, should have won the game, right? Whether or not you did, it's not irrelevant because obviously you want the game. It matters for seeding, it matters for the division, et cetera. But the really important thing is to show, this Colts team is good. It's not just a flash in the pan. It's not just a thing that's going to go away. Daniel Jones had a couple of interceptions, and certainly one of them I think was pretty bad. The other one, I think A.D. Mitchell bears some responsibility for that ball. But you could say, look, even in a game where Daniel Jones did not play like Danny Jones, Indiana Jones, MVP, they still should have won the game, right? And that's huge.
And look, whatever you say about A.D. Mitchell, Tyler Warren, Michael Pittman had a drop in there, but he had a touchdown. Josh Downs, every week, just rattling off these playmakers that they're using.
It's a great supporting cast.
They're all getting involved. Tyler Warren had the really nice rushing touchdown in there. I still think it's a very good offense. And they did this with injuries up front on the offensive line, dealing with this Rams pass rush.
Against a really good defensive line.
Rams have to turn around and play Thursday Night Football now against the 49ers.
Just imagine what that does to old man Stafford's back.
The Stafford back injury, man. It was a big story for us before the season, but he's looking pretty good. Yeah. And big game for them.
I mean, I did say this was going to be how it worked, though, that, it's old man Stafford. We're going to be hearing about this back injury, but it's never actually going to show up as a problem.
You nailed it. You also said we're going to be talking about Daniel Jones' $40 million contract, and
I said the Colts would win that division, and I was laughed out of the building. Look at me now. I mean, not by you, but by people. People hated it. They didn't like it.
Nobody likes it.
They thought I was crazy. And now, maybe I'll still be crazy, but right now it looks good.
All right, let's go. Kansas City Chiefs 37, Baltimore Ravens 20. Chiefs move to 2-2. Ravens fall to 1-3. Let's start with game flow wise. Ravens have a beautiful first drive.
Yeah.
They're up 7-0. It looks like it's supposed to be a game of the year candidate. It looked like it was going to be.
Right, if you stop the count after the first drive, you're like, there's no way this ends up the way it ended up.
Yeah, unbelievable. I want to talk about the stretch that Lamar had, but Chiefs offense had answers. They settled for 2 field goals early on, but then started to put touchdowns on the board. Mahomes finishes 25 of 37 for 270, 4 touchdowns, no picks. First time, honestly, he's had a stat line like this in 3 years, it seems.
This is the thing. I mean, this is the story of this game. The Chiefs' offense looked like what everyone pictures the Chiefs' offense to look like for the first time in a long time. And obviously the question is, well, okay, was that the return of Xavier Worthy? One of their most important players on offense, a guy that was supposed to be huge this year and right away gets wrecked by his own player, right? Travis Kelce runs into him on a mesh, he's out, and suddenly everything looks terrible. Well, Worthy's back. You get big plays. Everything looks great. Mahomes is connecting with him. The deep ball's there. It's all phenomenal. The only caveat is it's against Baltimore's defense, which coming into the game was one of the worst in the NFL statistically, and they got banged up. I mean, we talked about Nate Wiggins did not play corner. Would not have played corner very well. Nate Wiggins had been like a rare bright spot on this defense. Like everything's bad except Nate Wiggins is playing pretty well, and you've got guys like Roquan
Smith got hurt. Wiggins hurt late.
Kyle Hamilton, is still really good. But like generally speaking, this had been a terrible defense, but like Nate Wiggins has been really good. Well, Nate Wiggins gets hurt. Roquan Smith's hurt. Like they're all hurt. Everyone's hurt. So you're like, how much of this was Xavier Worthy and the Chiefs offense really getting it? How much of it is the Ravens have now become the Dolphins in terms of an asterisk where anybody playing them is going to look good?
That's still very little pass rush from Baltimore. And from like a Chiefs perspective, though, they hit Xavier Worthy for the 37-yard deep ball. That wasn't rare, by the way. Like I know the names haven't been there for the Chiefs, but Tyquan Thornton's been open 3 or 4 times behind the defense.
But they haven't hit him all the time.
They haven't always hit him. But now you have Worthy in there, so you have another speedster. He also had a 35-yarder on the end around. Remember his intro to the NFL against the Ravens?
Yeah.
He had 2 touchdowns almost immediately. How did the Bills let the Chiefs get Worthy? He does make a difference here. And Rashee Rice is coming back in week 6, by the way, who
the thing.
might be an even bigger difference maker.
So we don't know yet how much of it is Baltimore versus Kansas City, but
But watching Kansas City's offense, the first time in a while where just the RPO game, Mahomes, quick release on a slant, wide open. The RPO game is there. A couple deep balls opportunities are there. Travis Kelce's getting open when needed, right? And they're spreading the ball around. They're creating open receivers again. They're creating indecision on the defense. They're open receivers. They're schemed open receivers. Like it was the first time in a while you felt that, I think, from Kansas City. And again, it's a fair question. Is Baltimore's defense, like they're giving up the most points in the NFL per game right now. Worse than the Dolphins, right? They were right there with them, and Dolphins play tonight against the Jets. Is it the Ravens or is it the Chiefs? I could say both. It looks like both. This is the first time we've seen this from Kansas City, and then having Worthy back, and it'll be interesting to see what they have in Rashee Rice coming back. Then we have on the other side,
our guy Josh Dubow from the AP had a tweet that Xavier Worthy is the first Chiefs player with 2 plays from scrimmage of 30 or more yards in the first half of a game since Pacheco did it in Week 17 of 2023.
Wow.
So it's been more than a year of play since the Chiefs had one guy that basically provided 2 explosive plays in the first half. Like that's the kind of impact that Worthy made the second he's back in the lineup.
Chiefs offense, they were looking good. Again, Baltimore starts running right down the field with a very good first drive, nice little touchdown pass, screen pass to Justice Hill. And then Lamar Jackson hits this stretch of plays, man. I mean, we've talked about maybe his struggles with Kansas City and how it's been off. A stretch of plays where they were driving again, heaves a pass up for an interception by Leo Chanel. Really nice play by Chanel to pick it off. And then the next drive, the Ravens, Lamar has 2 delay of game penalties, and then an intentional grounding that was kind of avoidable, right? You're trying to get away from pressure, and you got to throw it away, and he waits till the last second, doesn't get it to the line of scrimmage. Then they're going for it on 4th and 1 in their own territory, and they come out in the gun. And I know, was it Romo raving about this? It's 4th and 1, and they don't have Derrick Henry in the game, and they're in the shotgun. And I don't care about the shotgun thing. But it was 4th and a long 1, and there's no Henry. Like, there's no indecision for the defense. Are you going to hand it off? Are you going to throw it? They just go straight drop-back pass.
Yeah.
Pressure in Lamar's face. He throws it away on 4th and 1. And so this was all between the end of the first quarter and into the second quarter. All of these mistakes adding up for the Ravens. So they gave the Chiefs several short fields in this game. I mean, the Chiefs started drives at the Baltimore 40, the Baltimore 47, and the Baltimore 24 later in the game. Incredible short fields, their own 44. I mean, incredible short fields that Kansas City also started with. So the Baltimore defense was already in a bind. But that was the turning point in the game, is that that late first into the second quarter sequence with Lamar Jackson, mistake after mistake after mistake, where I thought Spags and the Kansas City defense just got the better of him again.
That's the thing. So for the second week in a row, it feels like the defense basically knocked Lamar out of his game, and he didn't have an answer to it. The Lions, we talked about how they kind of went old school and had like a legit QB spy. It was almost like, remember when the one crazy game where Seattle had Lofa Tatupu as like a true QB spy on Michael Vick, and it was like the worst game Vick ever played. Lofa Tatupu, for some reason, was just all up in his grill all the way through the game, and Vick got nothing going. was sacked a million times, pressured every play, that kind of thing. The Lions did that to him last week. And then this week it was weird because the most of the game, Spags did this really good job of when he sent the blitz, they were like layered blitzes where it was like they were coming in sort of almost multiple waves of pressure. We're going to have, the first 4 guys, and then we're going to have an extra guy, and then we're going to have a late guy come in. And it was almost like a sort of sequence where Lamar was like, okay, we got that picked up. Uh-oh, there's one more. I'm going to move. And then the last guy would come in and like wrap him up, and it was game over. But I think all 3 of his sacks were all just 4-man rushes, right? So it's like we've got him out of his game with this like layered pressure stuff so that he thinks these waves of pressure are coming every play. But then actually, every now and again, we're just going to drop back, and that's when he's not going to feel it. Like he's so used to this weird pressure thing, and he's looking for that. And like all 3 of the sacks, I think, were very similar. Where it was like he drops back, hangs onto the ball, doesn't really feel confident in where he wants to go with it, and then starts to try and, break contain and then just get sacked by the 4-man rush. It's like that he didn't used to do that. Like that's not what a Lamar Jackson playing at the top of his game, MVP Lamar, looks like. MVP Lamar is perfectly content with a 4-man rush. It buys him time, and he just fires the ball out. And this was not that.
He had a sack rate of 13%, I believe, coming in. It was similar. 3 sacks, only 20 passing attempts. Once again, just way too many negative plays. Now, it wasn't for a ton of yardage, but, negative plays in there.
But this was almost more concerning.
And then not making the special plays to
like a big part of the Lions game is you were like, well, there's only 3 guys out in passing patterns, and most of them are running deep. So it's like if you blitz them with this amount of bodies and there's nowhere to go with the football, I mean, what do you expect to happen? This was one where like the sacks came when they had the bodies out in pass patterns. Like the options were there, and Lamar either didn't see it or didn't trust it and tried to make Lamar plays with his legs and didn't make it happen. And then he ends up leaving the game with a hamstring injury. And now if you're Baltimore, you're like, well, we've got a defense that can't stop anybody, and our quarterback has an iffy hamstring, however severe or not that is. And more importantly, even if he wasn't dealing with a hamstring injury, he's not seeing the field right at the moment.
And so what looked like the deepest roster in the NFL coming into the year, for maybe the 3rd straight year, right up there with the Eagles, the Lions, wherever you want to put it.
Yeah.
The Ravens, now down 7 starters by the end of this game between Roquan, Wiggins, and was someone else hurt? Down 7 starters.
I mean, Madubuike is still out. Yeah,
Madubuike is still out.
And hugely important players as well.
And then Lamar Jackson comes up with a hamstring injury. Again, I don't know if it was just like, hey, this game's over, but we knew coming out of this game, one of the teams.
It was early as well. Like this was still a 3rd quarter, and they were only down like 18 or whatever it was.
It was a 3-score game.
Right, but not like, I mean, that's a comeback. You can do that.
And
that's
we
not
suspected,
game over.
And again, I don't know if any of this is connected. We suspected Monday night, he didn't look as fast. Like maybe there was a step slow there. I tried to look up some NGS numbers to see it's
check his miles per hour.
Well, it doesn't. It's just not informative. It's really not. I think I think the information that teams have, the play-by-play and the way they can break it down and like energy expended and various things, I think you might be able to get some information there. But I think a lot of the traditional miles per hour stuff is more.
That's never seemed sensible as a data point, just big picture wise.
It's all opportunity driven. Yeah. So there's no data point that says, oh yeah, he's lost a step, he's losing this and that or whatever.
It's kind of cool, but it's never felt like a particularly relevant piece of information.
Right. And so, but certainly something felt off. Like his escapability wasn't there against the Lions. Plus they did a good job keeping him in the pocket. And then he leaves this game with a hamstring injury. So I guess the question is the sky falling in Baltimore? They're 1-3. The defense looks terrible, and Lamar Jackson's banged up. Now, the counterpoint to that is, in 4 weeks, the Ravens have had to play the Bills, the Lions, and the Chiefs. We knew this coming in. We knew that the Chiefs had a difficult schedule, that the Ravens had a difficult schedule. Like, we knew that these teams all were facing a gauntlet, and, the Ravens could have come out of it. The Chiefs could have come out of it well, but it's the Ravens who have come out of it the worst out of all the teams with the gauntlet. So it's 1-3, but there's no way the schedule gets more difficult from here on out. But they have to figure out the defense and got to figure out Lamar Jackson's health with the hamstring.
That's the thing. It's like going into this game, it's sort of like which team is it bigger for? The Chiefs or the Ravens? And it felt like it was bigger for the Chiefs because they had generally struggled, even against a team like the Giants who are not great. And you're like, well, if they struggle again against a team like Baltimore, whose defense has been rough, well, now you would come out of this game kind of concerned about Kansas City. But actually, if you just flip it and you say, well, the Chiefs get right and things go from bad to worse for Baltimore, well, now you're actually as concerned about them as you would have been about Kansas City, because their defense literally can't stop anybody right now. It's a wet paper bag. Okay, you can say it's all because of injuries, but those players are injured, so it's a problem right now. They can't stop anything. So that's problematic. But we've seen in the past, Joe Burrow and the Bengals, like, you can have a terrible defense and still be okay if your offense is dominant and unstoppable, and Baltimore's absolutely has the capacity for that to be the case. But on that side of the ball, you're saying, well, Lamar's now got a hamstring injury, minimum. That definitely diminishes the specialness of Lamar Jackson as a player. And more importantly, I think, he is not seeing the field the way he does when he's in his bag and when you're dealing with MVP Lamar Jackson. He's not seeing open receivers. He doesn't trust them when he does see them. He's trying to make things happen with his legs, and his legs aren't as effective as they used to be because he's dealing with a hamstring injury. So all of a sudden you're like, and then they've got one win on the board. So now you're like, in a tough division, the Ravens they're in trouble.
I would also add to this, Lamar generally against the Chiefs hasn't had a ton of success.
Right.
They almost made the comeback last year. Every time, though, you're always like, why didn't they run the ball more? And the game got away from them pretty quickly. But even early on, again, you've got 4th and 1. There was a 3rd and 1 and a 4th and 1 in this game. They're in the gun with Justice Hill next to Lamar. And I know Henry's probably a better under-center type of runner. But, man, you could run with Derrick Henry against this Chiefs defense, I think, and you just didn't give those opportunities.
So many times in his career that, this classic old school mentality of, don't give up on Derrick Henry. The fourth quarter is when he really starts to kick home once he's had, once you've got him lathered up. And with every other running back, it's just stuff people say, right? It's not a real thing. But there is legitimate statistical, historical, career-wide evidence that is true for Derrick Henry. The more you give him the ball, the later into the game you give him the ball. If you've given him 25 carries, it does seem to wear a defense down. He's, I think, literally the one running back in the NFL that I would say, even if you're down, even if you're multiple scores in the hole, in a game where normally you would abandon the run game and we're just passing and the ball's in Lamar's hand 24/7, forget everybody else. Derrick Henry is the one running back in the NFL that I would keep involved in a game like that.
You see the quarterback comeback stat all the time. The 2 times when covering this, I've thought the running back comeback. Dalvin Cook in college at Florida State was just outrunning defenses, helping Jameis Winston lead a comeback for Florida State. And Derrick Henry for the Titans in Seattle, down 3 scores with Ryan Tannehill. And they're like, this isn't Tannehill's team. This is Henry. Henry's going to run the ball. And he brought them back, I think, to victory, at least in overtime against Seattle. Let me just sum it up like this. When the Ravens are going at their best, the first 3 quarters of the Buffalo game, week 1, we all sit there and we're like, how do you stop this? How do you stop this? And they just have this flow where Lamar hits a pass, then he's got a keeper, then Derrick Henry rattles off a big run, and you're like, I have no idea how you do this. 8 in the box, 7 in the box, spy. They have an answer for absolutely everything. When they play Spags and the Chiefs, it's the opposite. Spags is dictating the action. Nothing feels special about the Ravens offense.
Yeah.
It's the Ravens that are in a bind, not the defense. And that's the thing. Beyond being 1-3, the aspirations are still Super Bowl. That still needs to get figured out at some point. I think the Ravens are going to play much better football. The last 37%, 67% of the season here. I think they're going to play better football. They still have to figure out how to beat the Chiefs at some point, too, if they're going to win a Super Bowl in the coming years. But they got bigger issues just trying to get healthy and get back out there. Yeah. Chiefs look good, man. They look good, both sides of the ball, after the slow start. All right, we got 2 more. Bears-Ravens. Bears-Raiders.
Yep.
Bears 25, Raiders 24. A blocked field goal to seal the deal for the Bears. 2-2. 2 straight wins for Chicago. 1-3 Raiders here. Pretty fun back and forth game here. If it wasn't 2 teams that, they're not 2 of the best teams in the league, we'd call it a heavyweight fight. If they were good teams, you'd call it a heavyweight fight. They went back and forth, battling each other in this one. What are your thoughts on Bears, Raiders?
Yeah, kind of fun game. The Bears were, I mean, Ben Johnson and the Bears were breaking out all the tricky stuff. It looked like they tried to do that fake fumble thing that the Lions did. Remember? I forget what the name of that play is. This was a sort of, because it's Caleb
What
Williams.
did they call it?
They had a name for it. Yeah, I don't remember what it is. Because it's Caleb Williams, and he's a little bit more, chaotic generally. It's hard to know if that was for real or if he just stumbled. But it looked like they ran that fake fumble. They also ran a fake flea flicker, which I don't know if I've ever seen before.
I think I've seen it. I've seen it somewhere, but it's really cool watching it though. The fake toss, and then it's like the whole offensive line's at the second level, and you got room.
So that was pretty fun. Honestly, though,
Stumble bomb is
the
play. Thank you, AO in the chat.
The biggest thing though from this game is we got an Ashton Genty breakout game. Despite, I mean, he fumbled the ball where it was like this is the most Ashton Genty play of all time, where like they didn't bother blocking a nose tackle or whatever. So he's a Met, like at the handoff again, the way Marion Hampton fumbled the ball, right? Because there was a dude like here. It was Max Crosby, actually.
Awful.
Where there's a guy like literally 6 inches from him as he's getting the handoff. And you can say, okay, you need to concentrate and take the ball before anything. But when a guy is like a foot from you when he's not supposed to be, it's going to catch your eye, Same thing happened with Genty, where there's a guy like a nose tackle right in front of him as he's getting the handoff. He actually gets out of that tackle. Like he spins away from it, and he's not going to get brought down by the first guy. And then a linebacker or whatever comes in behind that, cleans him out, and he fumbles the ball away. You're like, okay, that's bad. It is, however, a perfect encapsulation of his season so far, which is like dead on arrival, right? He has no shot. He's getting buried. Even if he makes the first guy miss, the second guy is going to kill him. And then you're like, this is it. But we then got actual plays from Ashton Genty where there's some running room. And it turns out he's still great when that happens.
64-yard touchdown in there. And he really is like the first guy that makes contact rarely takes him down. That is included in the 8-yard pass in the flat. And, you get, like when you get Jahmyr Gibbs in the flat, he could either outrun you or he might juke you or whatever. Like with Genty, he's not outrunning or he's just...
You just fall off him.
Yeah,
it's
you
amazing.
Can't tackle him.
Even the 64-yarder, right? He breaks a tackle from Kevin Byard. I mean, there was a play later in the game where Mostert got through to the second level or third level, got through to Byard as well. Byard tackles him, right? And it's like, it's amazing. People just fall off Ashton Genty in a way that doesn't make a lot of sense, but is consistent and has always been the case. And he is still incredibly hard to bring down, incredibly hard to tackle. And if you just give him a glimmer of, room to work with, turns out he's very good. I don't know if that counts as the it factor that Ryan Clark was talking about, but if you give him running room, he's a good running back.
Oh, man. Trent Richardson can never do that. Just so you know. Will Ryan Clark apologize?
No.
For saying he doesn't have the it factor after 3 weeks?
I did wonder what his mentions looked like at that point, though. Like how many people were just yelling, "Has he got it now?"
It looked pretty it-like. And we mentioned coming in, like the Bears' run defense was awful, and they took advantage of that. So, I mean, Bears made a couple nice plays to stop them, but Genty, the 64-yarder, the catch out of the backfield, a couple other nice runs in there. He looks great. Geno Smith kept throwing interceptions again.
Yeah.
He looks bad.
He does.
He looks really bad overall. I mean, this is...
concerningly so at this point.
I see our friend Drake Holiday in the chat here talking about, hey, I've been telling you Geno's bad. That's fine. He has not looked this bad since, like early in his Jets career.
No, I mean, anyone saying like this is just who Geno is, right? This is who he's been for, like, that's not true. I mean, obviously Geno always had terrible games within his range of outcomes. We saw his Jets career. Like, that's why his Seahawks career was a surprise, because we had seen Geno play badly for quite a lot of his career, almost all of it, in fact, which is why he had been a backup for years. And it was a shock that he then outperformed Russell Wilson and, looked really good. To be like, well, this is the level of play he's been at the whole time, is crazy. I mean, he played very well for a period of time, and now he seems to have gone back in the tank right at the worst possible moment for the Raiders' perspective.
2 picks by Kevin Byard, just misreading the middle of the field. Byard jumping the same exact route both times, just jumping a dig route, reading Geno Smith's eyes and making the play, then a diving interception from Tyreek Stevenson in there as well. I mean, those are massive plays, and I'm calling it a heavyweight fight because despite that, the Raiders still had an opportunity with the game-winning field goal attempt that the Bears blocked. And then from a Bears perspective, opportunistic to make those picks, Byard. I think there was points in Byard's career where people thought he might be done, but from a coverage perspective, he could still make impact plays like he did yesterday. And credit the Bears for sticking with it. Caleb Williams with a beautiful touchdown to Rome Odunze on a post route, and then it was DeAndre Swift with the game-winning 4-yard touchdown run for the Bears.
Yeah, hugely costly game for the Raiders potentially. Colton Miller was carted off in the final seconds. That's massive
Very
for
late,
an offensive line that was already in bad shape. I mean, he's by far their best offensive lineman.
Max Crosby also, by the way. He had
another guy with a batted pass interception to himself.
It was so funny because it was he had batted a pass on a screen, which was a great read early in the game. And then he comes back, and it looked like I think he was just on a stunt. And he came in, but it almost looked like he wasn't for a minute.
I mean, I think
he was just reading the quarterback.
He definitely kind of adjusted his pathway to like, I'm on a stunt. However, if I arc this further inside, I can actually get in the way of this throwing lane.
There's something about defensive linemen tipping the ball, picking passes off, picking off screens, and picking off receiver screens. And I'm like, that's just so special. What an interception, though, by Crosby. Because usually when you bat the ball, you can't control where it goes. But he bats it, sees it, catches it. What a play. I mean, Crosby doing everything he can to make plays for the Raiders and offset some of the turnovers that Geno Smith was throwing.
He's playing incredibly at the moment. He is one of those guys, I think, that can be in that Defensive Player of the Year category in any given season, and he's playing like that at the moment.
But it was a fun back-and-forth game. And after all that, you still had the Raiders with the opportunity for the game-winning field goal. Gets blocked to save the game for the Bears to move to 2-2. Raiders got to figure out the turnover situation. Bears, have they another pretty clean game from Caleb, right? He hasn't thrown – it's tough to put the interception on him. I know there's some people that blame quarterbacks for batted passes or whatever. I'm usually of the other mind. You can't. Not only can you not control batted passes for the most part, you certainly can't control if they get tipped up, down, left, right.
They're tough because there are plays where it's like, okay, at no point was this throwing window actually open. Like there is a degree to which a quarterback has to get it through a lane at the line of scrimmage, and if a lane is simply never there, you kind of have to be aware of that. There are other times like this though where that would have looked open for most of the play to the quarterback, and then Max Crosby from like out of nowhere rounds the corner and gets a mid up and bats it to himself. You're like that. I don't think there's much a quarterback can do about that.
Yeah, completely.
But like Carson Wentz had one against Pittsburgh where it's like there's two bodies there basically in your eye line the entire way. You're like that. You watch quarterbacks do drills where they're sort of, things are moving in front of them, and it's like you have to actually find a window. Otherwise, you're just throwing into a wall.
Kyle Monangai, the rookie 7th round running back, running hard again. With just a few carries, but it was Swift with the game winner. And again, Caleb to Odunze's 5th receiving touchdown this year. Just more opportunities. The Bears pass game is starting to create more open throws than we saw early in the year.
Odunze, all of a sudden, from being, relatively disappointing year one relative to expectations and relative to that sort of elite bracket of wide receivers, year two, he's starting to look like the best of the group. I mean, Malik Neighbors obviously has gone down with an ACL, so that's unfortunate for him. And that's the thing that's keeping him out more than play. But like Brian Thomas Jr. is playing awfully this year. Marvin Harrison Jr. is like forgotten how to football. And meanwhile, Rome Odunze looks fantastic.
Yeah, those 4 first-rounders and the 3 in the top 10, and everybody was like, hey, Odunze, Harrison, or Neighbors, any one of those 3 would be the number 1 receiver in any given year. And at the end of that year, you're like, it's probably just Neighbors. And, oh, by the way, it's BTJ.
Right.
Things have switched a little bit in Odunze. This is why you can't just go all in on 1 year of football sometimes evaluating these players. Odunze looks great. And Genti looks great. You can't go 3 weeks and say he doesn't have the it factor when maybe he does. He's got the it factor, man. He's got it.
Yeah.
Give him a little bit of space. A little bit of space.
Just a little bit of room.
That's all you need.
Which I'm sure will only be helped if their left tackle is down.
All right, last game. You ready?
Sure.
Sunday Night Football. The Micah Parsons Bowl. Jerry.
Micah Parsons Bowl.
In Jerry World.
I got to say, as a narrative / storyline, payoff, this was kind of disappointing.
I was expecting something. Parsons. I'm not even going to say the score. We don't even deserve the score.
We don't deserve it.
No, 40-40 tie. A 40-40 tie.
Yeah. It was a good game, but in terms of narrative payoff, it was kind of weak.
There was no Micah Parsons game-ending sack. There was no Chris tried to sell it. There was a maybe Micah saved the game because Dak could have run in and Micah tracked him down for a 0-yard sack.
We almost got it, though. There was a play. It took a while. And they, to be fair, Dallas did a great job of, not letting that happen. I mean, that was clearly a focus of theirs this week is, hey, I know we've been saying that Micah Parsons is this liability on defense, but dude, make sure you assign multiple players to him at all times, right? So he was getting chipped. He was getting, extra help a lot, right? And then it took a long time, but late in the game, he finally got a one-on-one against Tyler Guyton, absolutely roasted him on the outside. And Tyler Smith somehow sees this happening. One of these times where the guard doesn't really have an assignment and it's go find work, right? He, out of the corner of his eye, sees, Parsons has absolutely roasted Tyler Guyton and launches himself at him and gets just enough, barely touches him, but gets just enough, I think, to genuinely be the difference between strip sack, fumble, and not affecting the play, essentially. Tyler Smith saved the game late in the game.
Yeah, huge. And Tyler Guyton got benched again.
Yeah.
The starting left tackle for the Cowboys. I was talking to you earlier today. We used to make the statement about Anthony Richardson's only started and completed X number of games for the Colts. Tyler Guyton's been benched in 4 out of his starts, I think, in the last 2 years. 3 or 4 starts. He got benched again, which almost makes what Dak Prescott's doing that much more incredible. Missing his starting center, having a turnstile at left tackle. Pretty impressive what Dak is doing with this.
I mean, that offensive line is in bits at the moment.
And the offense is still moving the ball.
Yeah, it was already an offensive line that didn't look great on paper, even with the starting 5 that it's supposed to have. They are, the only guy left that you would be confident in is Tyler Smith, the guy we talked about with the miracle play. The rest of them are all either not good or backups.
The Packers were up early, and it looked like, the game, one of the very first plays of the game, there was a deep ball. Was it Dontavian Wicks and Matthew Golden?
Yeah.
Just wide open.
It looked like they ran a sail concept, and both parts of it were open and then ran into each other.
They were just both standing there. Golden intercepts the pass. Golden's he steals it from Wicks. He got the 50 yards.
By far, the bigger risk to that falling incomplete was that the other receiver was going to act as defensive back and be a pass breakup. The Dallas DBs were spectators.
I've never seen bad offense and bad defense. Bad offense get rewarded for defense that was worse. 2 receivers running the same route to the same spot, and the defense was so bad you could choose who gets the reception. Fantasy people just my guy. I want my guy to catch it.
You know what I wondered on that play briefly? A sail concept. It's one is basically a straight vertical route, and then the one that bends because you're traveling further and you're cutting. Theoretically, should therefore take longer, and you end up shallower, right? I kind of wondered, is Matthew Golden's 4.2 speed so legit that he actually just outran Wicks, even though Wicks is running in a straight line vertically, and he actually has to bend it outwards? I was curious about that, whether it was just he's just so fast that he can't be the inside guy on that.
So early on, it feels like, all right, of course. The Cowboys have one of the worst defenses in the league right now. The Packers have one of the best defenses in the league. They've been unreal through 3 weeks, and the Packers scored 2 quick touchdowns.
Yeah, and you're game over. This is going to be the dominant walkover that we expect. That's it.
Then things get weird.
Yeah.
It's 13-0. The Cowboys block the extra point, return it for a 2.
For 2.
And it's 13-2.
Of course.
And then they don't leave. They just keep sticking around. The whole time you're expecting the Packers. I was expecting the Packers to run away with it. Dak throws one up to George Pickens just before the half. Incredible catch along the sideline. They score a touchdown on a 95-yard drive just before the half. Unreal.
And then a strip sack, and they get the ball back. It's crazy.
Then a James Houston strip sack really quick, and Dak to George Pickens on the next play, 15-yard touchdown. And all of a sudden at halftime, Dallas is winning 16-13.
For most of the first half, Green Bay was comfortably the better team. And then suddenly, the miracle catch by George Pickens, and that this is making it look a lot closer than it actually was. And then strip sack and a touchdown. You're hang on. Somehow Dallas is leading this game going into halftime. This is ridiculous. Every time Green Bay scored, it was the type of bad defense that you're how have they not already put up 50? positive play by the Packers felt like it was so easy against utterly terrible defense. But it's just in between those they didn't do a whole lot. Like Dallas's defense, I don't even know if it was the defense or Green Bay's offense or whatever. The middle part was a lot of nothing, and then every now and again Dallas's defense would just implode and they would have a walk-in easy big play.
There's a lot of, there's so many big plays in this game that lead to a 5-quarter 40-40 tie. But 8 total lead changes. So Dallas was leading at the half. Josh Jacobs touchdown. Dak comes back to Ferguson for a touchdown. Josh Jacobs 18-yard run. And the whole time I think we're joking about storylines, right? Like what's the funniest story? Like what are the storylines coming out of this?
Yeah.
And so Josh Jacobs runs right by Kenny Clark in this supposed improved run defense for an 18-yard touchdown, right? And then it's like, okay, what's going to happen with Micah and the pass rush? Is he going to seal it? And like that's what you were kind of looking for, right? Like the satisfactory, like a Kenny Clark strip sack or someone that's involved.
The funny things were like small moments, like there was one point where Dallas's defense almost holds like a goal line stand, but then the last play they give up just a walk-in touchdown to Josh Jacobs. But it was like, so they'd held for like 3 straight plays or whatever it was. And then Chris on the broadcast is like, Dallas's defense is just sick and tired of hearing about how bad they are. And they're like, they've come to play today. And then Josh Jacobs just walks in a straight line right in for a touchdown.
The other, I thought, hilarious storyline piece was Dallas is driving down the field while Mike is in the tent getting his back checked out, right? The back that kept him all out of training camp with the Cowboys that Jerry's kind of using as his, extra side, damaged goods I'm selling. Of course, I'm not going to pay him $47 million. The guy's got a bad back, and he's in the tent getting his back checked out while Dallas is driving down the field. Also fun for storyline purposes. Micah did come back, though.
Yeah, he came back. And also, okay, he didn't have the sort of the story headline strip sack to end the game type of deal. He was, however, like an absolute massive problem for the Dallas offense. It's not like Micah Parsons did nothing. They kept him anonymous all game.
This is
he had a ton of pressure, and they were dedicating extra bodies to him the whole time.
And it didn't matter, which is mostly impressive, I think, with Dak in the pass game. Like it didn't matter.
Yeah.
But
the
they
bigger
moved the ball and put points on the board.
There will be people that come out of this game that were like, why didn't Micah Parsons do more in this game? My question coming out of this game would be, where the hell was Rashawn Gary? Because Micah Parsons was A, very, very good, and B, getting all the attention. Where was Rashawn Gary when that happened?
That's what I mean. Like our whole shtick is, don't look at the box score and this and that. The fact that Micah Parsons had like a 0-yard sack,
right,
which was a key. I want to talk about that play in a second. Like that wasn't the way that he made the impact, right? Of course, the same thing he always does is continuing to win snap after snap after snap. There was a play too. The defense was so bad in the back 7 for Green Bay at various points. One of the various touchdowns, I can't remember which one it was, for Pickens. Dak gets rid of it quickly, throws it just like a little hitch route, and Pickens breaks a tackle and runs in for a touchdown. Parsons smoked him on that play.
Right.
And my joke, pass rush win rate, we're always arguing, like, doesn't matter if you win 30% of your rushes. If you don't get sacks, it's like, we lose that one because Parsons won almost immediately. He pops Dak, but Dak gets the ball out in like 2.1 seconds.
Yeah.
And Carrington Valentine whiffs on a tackle, and it's a 28-yard touchdown. Parsons made a massive impact in this game, but the rest of the Packers, back 7, coverage, other pass rushers just weren't helping out. Mm-hmm. The sack, though, was interesting to me. It was a chance to win the game for Dallas. They ran the Edelman play from the Seahawks Super Bowl, the game-winning touchdown where you run a little play action, you run a little whip route, and if that's not there, you've got the crosser behind it. It's a pretty good play that works well in the red zone. Nothing was open. Dak tries to run it, had some room to maybe run it in for a touchdown, and Micah Parsons tracked him down from behind. Same sack he had in week 1, I believe, against Goff, the track down sack. It was a big play. But that was the only time Parsons really showed up on the stat sheet other than, pressures and hits and hurries. But it was a big play to save a potential scramble touchdown.
Yeah, it was a great example of how, like, the guy's impact in a game is not necessarily statistically reflected, but the conclusion to draw from that is not, well, where was Micah Parsons in this game? It was, that dude was fantastic. And honestly, I would be wondering why Rashawn Gary didn't have 4 sacks.
Magnus in the chat, too, mentions Javonte Williams. He just continues to impress for Dallas. running the ball. I mean, I know Dallas is becoming like a bit of a punchline here, and they're sitting here at 1-2-1. Some moves are good, like the George Pickens move now with CD Lamb out. It's I don't want to say it's a risky move, but you just don't always know what you're going to get from Pickens. He's had games like this before where he's contested catches and he's open and he looks like a wide receiver one. Man, if you get this Pickens, what a trade for Dallas. Now it's a matter of seeing that week to week. The Javonte deal, a buy low on Javonte Williams, who looks the best he's looked maybe since UNC. Never forget rookie season. So there's a lot of things Dallas is doing well.
Look,
if their defense could just play better.
Dak is playing out of his mind. You know, George Pickens has a game like this where he shows that he can be the guy without CeeDee Lamb there. Javonte Williams is running really well. They're getting plays out of other supporting cast receivers. I mean, Jalen Tolbert in overtime with that ridiculous Chris Carter-like catch
play
from both sides. Like, amazing throw by Dak. Tolbert is like a full yard over the sideline as he's catching that football, somehow keeps both feet in bounds. Like, amazing catch by him. They're getting Ryan Flournoy involved in the offense as well, both running and catching the ball. Like, they're getting plays out of this offense, despite the offensive line, as we talked about, being an absolute mess right now. The defense looks just catastrophic. I mean, it's amazingly bad in some instances. And that's going to obviously cap how good this team can be. But you have to give real credit to the offense. You know, Green Bay's defense that looked so formidable for a few weeks, I mean, it forgot how to defense in this game. Like, it was just getting wrecked.
That's the thing. Like, I feel like I want to give Dak more credit than Jordan Love in this game just because knowing what we knew coming in, the Green Bay defense looked great. I don't know if that matters. I argue against myself all the time. Does it matter what Green Bay did in previous weeks if they looked awful in this game?
Yeah.
But you're dealing with your offensive line injuries. Micah is bearing down on you a ton in this game, and you're making throw after throw after throw. So I was really impressed with Dak. I was impressed with Jordan Love, too, and his ability to bounce back, even though Dallas' defense had not been great coming in. And then you have the whole overtime thing, right? It's 37-37. Dallas goes down. They kick the field goal, and then Green Bay has a chance to match here. And they can match it and tie, and then it becomes sudden death, but they take up the most of the quarter, almost blew it at the end of the game. Jordan Love, they've got no timeouts. Jordan Love lines up with like 14 seconds, tries to run a play, and they have some options here, right? You can spike it and just kick the game-tying field goal, and then you just end the game. I kind of like the idea of like run a play and just see. Like if a guy's open, you throw it in the end zone, just see, but then you got to throw it away. But it's really risky. And if he had thrown it out of the back of the end zone, he may have run out of time. And he throws it, it falls incomplete, and they leave 1 second on the clock, and then Packers kick the game-tying field goal, and we all go home with a tie.
But that was critical because it was, it was third down. So if they had just spiked the ball, you got to kick. Like, that's it. So if you want a shot to win this game, you have to do. You have to run a play. You can't
spike it and run another play. You have to get up and run another play. They felt slow doing that.
Exactly. If you spike it, your decision is now: do you want to win the game and run a play? But the alternative is losing the game, or you can kick to tie the game, but winning is now off the table. So if you want to actually win the game, you do have to run something on that third down. You can't just spike the ball and go again. So that is a part of the equation. But yeah, it was risky, and they almost got punished for it. Yeah. By the way, on that play, you've got Dallas does their drive. Amazing catch by Tolbert. They get ahead. Green Bay's trying to answer. They struggle with that first little sequence. They're on 3rd and 6, and they heave deep to Dontavian Wicks. He wanted a pass interference call. If one had come out, I definitely wouldn't have been shocked, and I wouldn't have been saying it was a bad call.
I wouldn't have been shocked.
They don't get it.
Didn't.
They don't get the pass interference call, and they have to run a play on 4th and 6 to keep that drive moving in the first place. They go to Matthew Golden over the middle, and they move on. But that was one where it's like the official just doesn't want to throw that flag. He's like, it's overtime. I don't want to be the reason this is going one way or the other. I'm just keeping the flag in my pocket.
I hate the prayer heave. Like we've talked about this before. Like when the quarterback throws a great throw, it's in stride,
but this
and a receiver gets like his hands ripped away. Like I want to reward that. The pure heave, man, I hate that. So I was kind of glad it didn't happen. Was there contact though?
Yes. So this was one where it's not the classic Joe Flacco, right? Which is it's an underthrown deep ball by a mile, and the receiver has to sort of try and fight his way back through, a receiver, and that ends up, you just have to call that, right, as he's impeding him. This was one where he's sort of off to the side rather than directly behind him, so he makes the adjustment, back on what ends up being like a back shoulder throw, not intentionally, but it ends up like as a back shoulder. So he makes the adjustment back like this, and as the corner just keeps running in a straight line in the wrong direction, he like takes a swipe at his arm, and it's like, had it come out, I would not have been saying that was a bad call. Put it that way.
My only complaint would have been I hate the spot foul.
Oh, it's a massive high leverage play. I mean, that would have put them at the 45 or whatever. And
that was the Mahomes heave before the half last week against the Giants. I didn't even know if that was pass interference, but if there's like any contact and the receiver falls over, it's immediately going to get called.
Yeah.
And
by the way, the other part,
50 yards.
The other element of this is even with the contact, I think Wick should have caught that.
Forget whether or not through to his hands.
Yeah, forget whether or not you want a flag on that play. I think Wicks had made the adjustment, and the ball kind of landed in his gut. Come up with it, like catch the ball.
Were there any? It's one of the. I usually like to write down all the, the high leverage plays.
Yeah.
Romeo Doubs with a huge game with 3 touchdowns. The high leverage plays and the order. It's just there's too many. Any other specific plays that came up here, or high end takeaways here? The Packers are now 2-1-1.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys are 1-2-1.
Yeah, I mean none beyond what we've already talked about. I would be concerned. I don't know what happened to that Green Bay defense in this game. I mean, okay, you can give credit to Dak Prescott, to George Pickens in particular, and that ridiculous catch before halftime. There were plays that they made that were sort of independent of Green Bay's defense not being good. But like this defense made a bunch of bad plays that they hadn't been making in the first few weeks. Again, I would wonder, like, why was Rashawn Gary and others? I mean, I don't want to mean to single him out necessarily, but why were the non-Micah Parsons people not able? This is why you bring in Micah Parsons, this game, right?
Yeah.
You have Micah Parsons. He's going to get like double-digit pressures. He's going to be double-teamed basically every single play, and he's still going to get close to getting a strip sack to sort of end the game late on. But he's getting this much attention and getting pressure. Where's everybody else? Yeah. Like, that means nobody else is getting any additional attention. You're all singled up. Like, this is why you bring him in. This guy is getting all the attention, so you're now one-on-one all game. Go and get your own double-digit pressures and a sack and whatever. And instead, the rest of that crew, combined for very little.
From an overtime perspective, this wasn't really the new rules in action because there was a field goal. You've been able to match the field goal for a while. So matching a touchdown, we didn't get to see that necessarily. My only takeaway is I just would make overtime 15 minutes.
You want
of 10.
More of that. That's your takeaway.
I would just make it 15 minutes because then you probably have more opportunities for a third possession.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, to try to find a winner rather than a tie. I think the goal should be to try to find a winner without overtaxing the players. Like, I don't want any college. I hate college overtime for the NFL. I never want to see this 63-60 game where a guy throws 7 touchdowns because they just happen to start in the red zone 4 times in overtime. So I don't want to see that. But if you're going to have a 10-minute overtime, like, just make it 15, just having one more quarter. Because there's a balance, right? It's the regular season. You don't want to tax the players. We believe in player safety here at the NFL, the National Football League. We believe in the players and taking care of the players. So you can't have double overtimes. You can't have these guys killing themselves with extra snaps. But you can at least go 15 minutes and at least be guaranteed a third possession, almost certainly, right? 10 minutes is pretty quick.
I feel like if overtime exists as a concept, there should not be ties. I don't have a problem.
You just can't have double overtime.
I don't have a problem with ties. I think, honestly, I have no problem with the idea. If you can't win the game in regulation, unlucky. We're all settling for a tie. And everyone's like, oh, no, ties are the worst. Well, we've accepted ties. They're a thing. They just happened, right? So we're not against ties in concept. They are here. We are willing to accept a tie if the game ends after 10 minutes of overtime. So that's not a reason to not have a tie. If you've decided, no, ties are disgusting, it's un-American, we're not standing for that communist crap, we're going to end the game and we're going to find a winner. Well, then do that. Find a winner. Don't play overtime and then still settle for a tie. Figure it out. Find a way of ending the game.
Give them 5 more minutes to to
everyone rails against the
determine
unfairness of sudden death overtime. At least it resulted in a winner most of the time.
And there's a healthy debate among people whether or not you want to take the ball or take the second possession. I still think taking the ball is best. I get both sides though, because once you take the ball, if there is a third possession, you get the sudden death opportunity.
Yeah.
If you have the second possession though, you're going for it on fourth down, and you might have more opportunities. I don't know. Anyway, it's a 40-40 game. We had scorigami.
40-40?
It was the highest
scoring tie.
The highest scoring tie since 1964.
There was one more.
Patriots Raiders, I believe, in 64 AFL game. 43 to 43. So, we saw almost history last night.
We saw almost history. Apparently, so people were saying that when it was like 13-2. Apparently, there's been a 13-2 game before.
So 13-2. You know the most famous 13-2 game off the top of my head?
No.
Florida State, Oklahoma national championship. Oklahoma beat FSU 13-2 to win the national title. The national title game. Josh Heupel versus Chris Winkie.
Wow.
In 2000. 13-2. That was the final
Chris
score.
Winkie, the old man's Brandon Whedon.
Yes.
Before Brandon Whedon could run.
The best part
Chris
about this
Winkie
game being
walked.
13-2 is 13-2 without a safety. It's amazing, right? It was just with the blocked field goal, extra point return. Oh, man, what a game. That, I cannot believe, that Dak to Tolbert overtime throw was incredible.
Yeah.
So Tolbert's in the end zone. Dak heaves it. Tolbert somehow on the same page. He runs away from his defender. The other defender covering him didn't even go with him.
Yeah.
It was like, wasn't expecting a 50-yard heave. And then Tolbert's ability to catch it along the sideline. What a play. It was unbelievable.
Catch is incredible. I mean, to keep both feet in and be literally lying a full yard over the sideline and catch it is crazy.
I'm saying 50-yard heave. I guess it went for 34, but felt longer.
The Pythagorean,
the throw itself.
The length of the hypotenuse relative to the other two
Pythagorean air yards. All right, that's we had two games tonight. I got one more thing.
Yeah?
I got one more thing. Let's get all full boomer here.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL announced the halftime performance.
Yeah.
Your thoughts for the Super Bowl? Super Bowl halftime thoughts.
I have no thoughts whatsoever.
There's a Bad Bunny, apparently.
Yeah.
That's going to perform.
Although I did learn recently that apparently the NFL does not pay the artists to perform at halftime. They do it. They're like, you should be happy for the exposure.
You should pay us.
Well, no, they're like.
I feel like you've told me this before, so you may have learned it.
I think I have. I think that is the case.
Pretty
it's
sure
one of those things where
we've had this conversation.
Like rings a bell, but your brain is like, wow, that's an interesting piece of information that I've learned for maybe the second or third time. But it's like the NFL treats the halftime show the way people treat radio hits. It's like, nah, you should be happy for the exposure, right? I'm paying you.
I'm not going to pay you for my time.
I'm paying you an exposure here, but people like Taylor Swift are like, I don't really need exposure. I'm one of the largest recording artists of all time. Maybe you should give me some money, So apparently, Bad Bunny or whatever this person's name is like the third choice at best for this.
So interesting. No one wanted to do it. So
the previous, at least one person and maybe two people were like, I'm not against the concept, but I would like several $1 million for the privilege. The NFL's like, no, we don't pay you.
Did you happen to see my suggestion for what the halftime show should be?
I did not. Was it dogs catching Frisbees?
Nope, it's not one band.
Okay.
Here's what we're going to do when I'm NFL commissioner.
Yeah.
We're going to have a medley.
Play 90s at 9?
No, not 90s at 9. We're going to close, though. We're going to have a medley of the best hits from all Madden soundtracks of the last 25 years. So if your hit song made it to a Madden soundtrack, you're in the running to be a part of the, let's say, 8-song medley that's going to be the halftime show. So you never know. We could get Seether, Fine Again, showing up as part of the halftime medley. I think we got to get this thing some legs. Good Charlotte's going to show up, play the anthem.
Good Charlotte.
Yeah.
This is like, this is a class. This is like a perfect.
Alien Ant Farm, AFI, they're going to be there.
Yeah. The Bad Bunny thing, though, is a proper, like, everybody in our age bracket is like, who the hell is that? I've at least, there were a bunch of people. I think Albert Breer had this tweet. He's like, this is the first Super Bowl halftime artist where I've never heard of them, right? Yeah. I've heard of Bad Bunny. In 50% because I think he was recently in the second Happy Gilmore movie. I couldn't tell you a song of his. Like, I've heard of him. I know who he is, but I don't know his music.
Yeah, I don't know anything about him.
There are other people out there who don't even know who he is, who are like, you might as well say.
I've heard the name. Whatever video was posted, though, that didn't say the name.
They're just confused.
Was not informative to me.
Right.
Franz Ferdinand, take me out. Please enter your favorite Madden song from the soundtracks through the years.
But that's another one that once...
Like, imagine Newfound Glory showing up for the Madden... for the Madden
so
medley.
Half these bands are still alive.
I hope they are. That or Creed. Either that or Creed.
Creed.
Creed
probably aren't busy. They could
great showman.
Show. I mean, that is the greatest halftime show of all time.
That was how they usually did. Like, Aerosmith showed up like 15 years after they were popular. That was generally the theme.
Right.
Is you get somebody 15 years after they're popular.
So
it's Creed's time to shine, I would say.
Creed is the greatest halftime show we've seen, right? The guy flying, the guy Scott Stapp in his Dallas Cowboys jersey and stuff.
A legend.
We peaked at that point. We might as well just run it back for a Super Bowl show.
You absolutely should. Why can't you do that? That'd be like watching an old timers game. Here, could you fly across the stage?
The one fact I did, man, can you imagine that? Like a geriatric version of the guy flying across in his thing. The one fact I did see when this was announced and everyone went nuts is Bad Bunny apparently is the most streamed artist in the world.
Oh,
I don't know if that's of all time or just now.
It's probably a good selection by the NFL.
But yeah, like he is, one of the largest recording artists on the planet. So from that perspective, kudos to the NFL. You got someone else to do it for free.
You got somebody.
But apparently other people were like, no, I want money for this.
Yellow card, way away. Song 4 of the Madden medley at my Super Bowl halftime show.
Great.
Can't wait till I'm in charge. Let me know if you like my idea. I think it's got some legs.
Raj apparently has the NFL, in an iron grip. So whatever about your chance of becoming GM, I don't particularly like your chances of unseating him as commissioner.
We'll try to get the groundswell. I've got a couple of ideas. I got Island Game Weekend and then the Madden Medley halftime show. Great. Island Game Weekend.
It's not a great manifesto to be running on.
The NFL would love Island Game Weekend.
No, I know.
16 straight Island games
honestly,
from Friday night through Monday night.
They're probably going to get to that before you're anywhere near the thing. But I'm just saying, as a manifesto, that's a very narrow focus.
We're going to add to it as we go.
Right.
We'll add to it as we go. I hope we hit every game. Do we miss anything? What a show. Of course, we're back on Wednesday. We're going to be interviewing. We have a special thing for Wednesday. We'll always Wednesday update, hit all the news, talk about the biggest storylines, some new data in the analytics community.
The math has changed.
We're going to get to the bottom
Big
of this.
news.
So
we're going to talk to someone that knows math as opposed to us.
Forget Pablo. This is CTM Investigates.
We find out.
Can we get some? We need our investigative music.
Check them out. The Cincinnati Bugler or whatever we're calling ourselves. We
will get to the bottom of this.
Investigative journalism.
Because the go for two early go for two deal, it's changing.
May have changed.
The
math may have changed.
We will get to the bottom. CTM Investigates. We will get to the bottom of should you go for two when you're down. You're down 14. You score a touchdown. The analytics community has been saying go for two. Be smart.
It's a no-brainer.
No-brainer.
Once you understand.
It's like a one test. It's a one-question test on your resume.
And it's one of those ones that's had a quote-unquote correct answer for a long time.
People you always go for two.
This is easy. The math simply says you go for two as soon as you can.
You're down 14. You go for two.
The old NFL dinosaurs are like, no, you never go for two until the last possible opportunity.
It's not even. It's just when you're down 14 and you normally just kick 2 extra points to tie it. They're saying go for two to get to 8, and then next time you kick the extra point, you're going to get the win. You improve your win probability. Now the data may have changed, and we're going to get to the bottom of this and talk about it on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Talking to Seth Walder from ESPN to get to the bottom of this. CTM Investigates.
Nice.
All right, that's it. We got 2 games tonight. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Let me know if you like my Madden medley idea. All right, we'll see you again Wednesday. More Check the Mic.